It is a woman reclining in a chair with her head back on the chair with flaxen coloured hair, but a penicular structure is attached to her chin and then doubles back over her head. What's your problem?
From the talk of the town to the whisper of the village.
Counter number 4, please.
Breaking global sports news and the answers to questions you never even thought to ask.
Has anyone got a spoon for my kiwi fruit?
The two mics.
Just like in that film.
On Talk Sport.
Well, hang on. If a tadpole turns into a frog, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But, so what does a newt turn into?
I don't think a newt turns into anything.
Well, it must do. A newt can't stay a newt all its life.
Why can't it stay a newt?
Because it's a pointless existence.
Why is it a pointless existence?
Because being a newt has been a nothing. It's Nothingsville.
Well, I mean, you can say that about many things.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
I mean, what's the point of being a hamster?
Yeah,
bearded weirdo. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike and Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. And you're absolutely right to raise this issue of Gareth Southgate. I just don't get it. What's he doing at the England rugby camp?
Yeah. Well, maybe he's trying to find
camp.
out what Eddie Jones's secret is. But, I mean, bizarrely, if he has been spending a lot of time there, I know you weren't able to watch the live England-France game because it was on at the same time as Everton was.
Yes.
But, you know, England were very lacklustre.
They were
in the first half in particular, I actually put out a tweet, by the way, last Saturday saying, has Gareth Southgate taken over the England rugby team?
Yeah, funny.
Because, you know, I should have said that, and now it looks like this is where he's hanging around.
Indeed. But so there he is. Is that Penny Park they
I believe it is, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah,
we'll get the full story in a few moments.
It's quite a nice hotel, that.
Is it?
Yeah, I see a sign every time I come back up the A3. It says Penny. Is it Penny Park?
Well, you say it's Penny Park.
Penny Park.
I'm agreeing with you because I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the last time we saw Mr. Southgate, the England manager, he was helping to conduct the FA Cup draw.
Yeah, with not as much style as Rod Stewart did the Scottish Cup.
No, exactly.
Of course.
But not only that, I mean, it does beg the question that we've asked before. What does an England manager do when England aren't playing any football matches?
Well, not very much, apparently.
And, I mean, am I being churlish in saying, look, if he's got time to go onto fields and watch people training, would he not have been better off being in Barcelona or in Germany or Italy or somewhere like that, watching some training methods there for footballers?
Well, wouldn't he not be better off, given that England have got another couple of games coming up this month, actually being at the training ground at, I don't know, Chelsea, at Arsenal, at Manchester City, at Tottenham, where there are a lot of England players?
Absolutely. Or maybe even being at the grounds where our opponents are training or the games they played at the weekend in the forthcoming internationals.
Apparently this has been characterised as a fact-swapping mission.
Fact-swapping.
Between Eddie Jones and Gareth Southgate. I wonder what sort of facts they're going to be swapping.
Well, one expression used here in one of the reports about this is picking the brains. Eddie Jones has been picking the brains of his football counterpart, Gareth Southgate.
This is where it's all going wrong,
that didn't take long.
Well, that's why it's all going so horribly wrong.
Exactly, yeah.
For him. They've got Wales this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Which is a massive game for England after, their performance last week. It's always difficult going to Cardiff. And, he's also brought along with him the highly successful Australian netball coach, Lisa Alexander. She's also been at Pennyhill Park as well.
Is she, yeah. So it is Pennyhill Park, yeah?
It is Pennyhill Park, yes.
Yeah, I told you it was, yeah.
Yes.
Do you know that the England netball team, which is a ladies' game, so you don't have to call it.
Netball is, yes.
Yeah, they got 17 million quid grant.
Did they?
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know.
I suppose they're going to get funding from somewhere.
I'm not knocking it, but they got 17 million quid because apparently they haven't been getting very much lately, so I think they've been making a bit of a protest as a result of which somebody's given them 17 million.
Well, good for them, is what I say. But I'm all for equal opportunity in sport.
Yeah, I am as well, but I'm not sure what, in the terms of netball, you can spend 17 million on.
Well, I mean, you have to pay for it. Well, you have to travel, presumably. You have to pay for hotels. You have to go into tournaments. There's probably fees.
Yeah, look at this. The government has set aside millions of pounds to encourage women to put on netball kit for the first time since leaving school. No, yeah. The sport is aiming to use a £16.9 million grant to attract tens of thousands of women back to the game, or to try it for the first time.
Why don't they try playing it in schools? Isn't that the way to do it?
Well, they do, but then what happens is, because there's not, a huge structure in this country, they leave school and they sort of hang up their plimsolls or whatever netball players wear.
Culottes.
No, don't be... No, come on, don't be demeaning.
I'm not being demeaning. I don't know what you wear to play netball.
Well, you wear a skirt and like a polo top, don't you?
Well, I know.
Yeah, because you have to be unencumbered in your movements.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when you play netball, once you've got the ball, you're not allowed to move. You know that, don't you?
Yes, I do know that.
Did you know that?
Yes, of course I knew that. That's the difference between netball and basketball. Basketball, you're allowed to move as long as you're bouncing the ball.
Yeah.
In netball, as soon as you receive the ball, you have to stop.
So it's like being a statue, really,
It's quite a cool game to watch, actually. I've quite enjoyed watching it when it's in the Olympics and stuff like that.
Why? It can't be if nobody's moving.
Well, no, because there's a certain skill to being able to move the ball.
Only one person's allowed to score, aren't they?
Well, that's
called
as
the goal scorer, isn't it?
Well, what you mean completely in the whole game?
Yeah.
That I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you obviously know more about it than I do.
No, in
did you
basketball...
play at the King's School, Chester?
Played basketball.
Did you?
Yeah, very
You played basketball?
Yes, I did, yeah.
What position?
Well, it doesn't matter because anybody can score in basketball.
Yeah, well, did you, though?
Of course.
Were you a three-pointer specialist?
Yes, absolutely.
Were you?
I could hurl
We were supposed to be having a basketball sort of competition, weren't we?
I could hurl it from 30 yards, mate. And,
well, you can hurl a lot of things from 30 yards.
And no problem at all. But, no, in netball, they throw it to each other, don't they? But they stay static. And then, one member of the netball team is called the goal scorer.
The goal scorer? I don't know.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, if you say so.
I'm pretty sure, because they have the initials of their position on the back of their shirts.
So, say GS?
That's right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it would be the equivalent in football of...
Number 9.
Peter Cech having GK on his back.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Goalkeeper. You know,
Is
so
that
in
what
netball...
it would stand for?
Yes, that's right, yeah. They have goal scorer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have goal defender. I'm sure there's a GD.
But so this is not money then for the national netball team. This is money to develop the sport at grassroots, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, that's fine. So they're not giving it to the team to squander on entering competitions and paying the salaries.
No, but it's the basketball people are a bit upset because it's 3 times as much as what basketball will receive over the next 4 years.
Right.
So it says 1.4 million people take part regularly.
Right.
But most of those, 99% of those, are schoolgirls.
17 million, by the way, is about an average 6-month salary if you're playing in the NBA.
Well, I don't care.
America.
It's an awful lot of money for netball in this country. It says the drive to encourage adult participation has led to figures rising from 111,000 to 180,000.
So that's not bad.
180,000 women play
That's
netball.
a 75% increase.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Right.
Well, I'm all for that. I mean, 17 million, by the way, is a bit of a drop in the ocean when you talk about funding of sport and the amount of money, for example, the FA has got, because, you know, I'm going to get onto that in a minute.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you this before we go on. Eddie Jones said this after the very valuable day they all spent together.
Yes.
The staff shared a very interactive hour with them at a lunchtime meeting where we learned a lot, reinforced some principles, and also discovered some new things that we need to do to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Eddie Jones, one of the most straight-talking men we've interviewed on this very show.
That's right.
Right? Is now sounding like Gareth Southgate. He's making absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
What's he talking about?
I've no idea.
Discovered some new things that we need to do to keep moving forward.
Really?
What does that mean?
I don't know. I suppose it's, you know, new initiatives and all that kind of stuff. They talk about it all the time,
But it's old Cableros, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it sounds like it to me. I just don't think that the disciplinary codes, and I don't mean disciplinary in the terms of the rules, but the self-disciplinary codes of a football and a rugby player are anything like similar at all.
No, indeed.
I don't get it.
And what about this guy, Greg Clark, who says he's now going to step down from his position as the chairman of the FA if the government does not support his proposed reforms of the organisation?
Well,
apparently there's a big debate going on Thursday, tomorrow.
He says, I will quit if we don't deliver. Promised to step down as chairman if he fails to deliver. But Clark has asked the government not to become involved in football politics and to allow him to get on with forcing through a shake-up.
Yeah, well, what's he doing?
Delivering real change is my responsibility.
Yeah, but what's he shaking up, though?
Well, I've no idea. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going horribly wrong at the FA. I think you should get back in there. I think you should go back in there and offer them the benefit of your previous experience.
No, I don't think it's going horribly wrong or anything like that. I mean, the point is,
it's not going very well, is it?
Well, it's a very difficult organisation to police, to be honest, in the sense that it has to look after so many different varying aspects of the national game, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the biggest incumbent to it is the council, which is made up of a lot of people who really are part-time amateurs and who won't relinquish their power.
Are these the elderly white men that Greg Dyke and David Treisman were
Yeah, I think
to?
so. They're called the councillors, and they have an FA council meeting, and they used to call the front bench of the meeting death row.
Yeah.
Because you were never sure next time how many of them had died.
Did we have a quorum?
From elderly illnesses and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
How about this from Scott? He says, the only thing Porky can hurl from 30 feet away is an insult.
Yeah, well,
Which is one of the things certainly you can hurl.
No, I don't do that, no.
And a Bantam Bouncer says the 17 million is to encourage the older ladies to take up walking netball, just like walking football for the men.
Walking netball?
Have they given up... I thought you couldn't walk, though. You
exactly. How can you have walking netball? You're not allowed to move in netball. What a preposterous proposal, you oaf.
Well, I presume he means walking for the people who haven't got the ball, as opposed to running.
No, I don't think so. Nobody can move in netball once
of course you can
got
move.
The ball.
Yeah, but once you've got the ball, you don't move, and everybody else is moving.
What, you mean like circles around you?
Yeah, well, instead of people running, right, when you're holding the ball, instead of running round you, they're walking round you.
Yeah, but the minute you get the ball, it's like a statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the mannequin thing, isn't it?
Yes, we call it mannequin or statue or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Good thinking.
Well, thanks for that valuable lesson in netball.
I do think £17 million to give to a sport is, quite a lot of money, and I hope they'll benefit. Of course, it's got a high profile now because it's got the...
You ever been out with a netball player, by the way?
No, why would I?
Well, I just wondered.
Tracy Neville is now the Supremo.
Yes, she is.
She's a winner. She comes from a winning family. She has a winning mentality. I wish them the very best of luck. I hope they go forward and conquer the world. That's what I want.
Let's hope so.
Conquer the world in netball, girls.
That's it.
Go, go, go.
We've got lots of... maybe we should be the main cheerleader. We've got lots to talk about. Tim Vickery's coming up. He'll tell us all about Luis Suarez getting sent off. We've got also Lisa Daly coming up. Who's going to talk about a new dating app which matches you up with somebody who hates the same things that you do. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. We've got Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on, of course. We've got loads and loads of very good questions, but if you wish to try and get some more in before we do it, you need to tweet them at the Two Mics or find us on our Facebook page, which is, of course, the Two Mics as well. Mark the Taxi says there's no way Parry scores 3-pointers with them short arms, which is a bit harsh, but a lot of people are making those kind of remarks.
No, believe me, when you're throwing from distance, doesn't matter whether your arms are short or long. My arms aren't short anyway.
Okay.
That was a myth put around by a colleague here at Talk Sport many years ago.
Mr. Brazil, yeah.
Yeah, and has been found to be a complete load of nonsense.
Yeah, in fact, Bantam
since.
Bouncer says, don't blame the messenger, blame Brazil. He mentioned walking netball, a new sport for older ladies with the help of 17 million quid.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And James says, Porky Parry of the Chester Globetrotters, another string to his bow.
I think there is a basketball team in Chester. I think they play at the Northgate Arena.
Really?
Yeah, where I used to play badminton.
Yeah, badminton, okay.
Yes.
Moz says, was it the Hobbit basketball team for Porky?
No, it wasn't actually.
And lots of people have put out pictures, including one which portrays you as the guy from Teen Wolf. And here's a young Porky portrayed in the movie Teen Wolf.
Oh, I see, right, okay. I don't know what Teen Wolf is,
show?
I presume it was like young people playing basketball or something.
It was,
indeed.
Yeah. Neil says, I could dunk with the best of them.
Yeah, oh, really? Yeah, I see what you mean, slam dunk and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I like all that,
So
play on words.
Lots of interaction going on.
Yes, that's right.
I'm now delighted to say that the first editions have just arrived, so we'll be able to have another closer look at what Gareth Southgate's been up to.
Well, before we look at those, the other thing that he's up to, by the way, is this rumour that he's going to bring Andy Carroll back into the England squad. I mean, I'm not sure about that.
There's an advert for my car on the back of one of the papers.
Say it again?
Advert for my car on the back of the Independent.
Let me have a look at that. Oh, yeah. Actually, there's been a lot of newspaper advertising for the F-Space, the EJF Space, over the weekend. I've noticed. The what?
F-Pace.
What did I say?
You said F-Space.
Oh, F-Pace,
That's the E-Space you're thinking of by Renault.
The E-Space, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the idea of bringing Andy Carroll back, I think, is a bit of a joke because he will never start for England, will he? He's plan B.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so. He's sort of a super sub is presumably what they're thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yes, sort of. But if you bring him on, you've got to change the whole structure of the team and the whole way they play, haven't you? So I'm not sure that is a great idea. But then again, Mr. Southgate's got to earn his dough, so we'll have to see what he comes up with, won't he?
Yeah, and Leon says Eddie Jones is trying to teach Southgate the winning mentality, something England football have badly failed in since 1966.
Well, that may well be true. I mean, Eddie Jones has a terrific winning mentality and a track record to prove it. So, and the great thing about Eddie Jones is, I'm not sure whether Eddie Jones and Gareth Southgate would ever get on, because
I don't think they would.
Eddie Jones is a very straight talker, Tells it like you see.
Well, this is why I'm worried that it's actually working in reverse.
Yeah. You boys, you got to play the game and get stuck in. Whereas with Gareth Southgate, it's the deeply thinking philosophy of, of course, my position, of course, one has to...
I'm really enjoying it. You kept saying I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not interested in enjoying it or not. We just want to get some results, to be honest.
But you see, the trouble is I read a paragraph like this in the piece in the Telegraph. Jones' squad saw inspiration yesterday from England football manager Gareth Southgate, who attended their training base along with Australia's netball
Why?
team. Why is he trying to get inspiration from Southgate?
I don't know.
He was about as inspiring as Roy Hodgson was.
Well, I was about to say, Eddie Jones's track record as a rugby coach surpasses by a mile Gareth Southgate or any England manager for the last 20 years. Yeah. So why would you go seeking? I just don't get that.
Apparently
why would you go seeking inspiration from a losing structure?
This is my worry about Eddie Jones now because of what happened on Saturday. Right? He apparently invited Gareth Southgate in, because he says he's been a long time admirer of football management and attended an England training session at St George's Park last May to discuss coaching methods with Roy Hodgson.
Has
he gone mad?
No, I don't know. I mean, it just...
the
old expression, beggars belief.
You want to get the winning mentality. You want to pick it up from some Australians rather than from some people who've managed England.
I totally agree.
I mean, these are people who win at all costs. They don't care how they win. They don't care what they do to win, but they always try and make sure that they at least try and look as if they're going to win.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Very bizarre business.
I totally agree. Now, I've got some good news. Yes. Remember that I was the first to reveal the sordidness of the next exhibition at the Tate, which, of course, is the
Pork-casso scenario.
Picasso stuff with the one picture. What was it called? Le Favre.
It was the Dream, wasn't it? La Rêve.
Oh, La Rêve, that's right. Which showed a woman with a penicular structure.
Well, that's what you said.
Attached to her head. So I revealed that, and it caused a national scandal, and of course has been running. Now, I'm delighted to be able to tell you that actually one of the new exhibitions coming at the same gallery, the Tate, which is just up the road here from Talk Sport, is going to be one of the biggest ever exhibitions of David Hockney's works.
Yes. Well, did you see that he was in the front? He was on the front page of the Suns. He redesigned the Suns logo.
Did he?
And they did a big interview with him. And
he did. Of course, he did. Yeah.
So that must have been why.
Well, maybe that was why. But, I mean, I think this is brilliant. I think David Hockney is our greatest living painter. He's 80 years of age. He wears turquoise socks. He still smokes about 40 fags a day.
I thought you didn't like people that wore socks like that. Like coloured socks, like Jon Snow.
Yes, but Jon Snow wears them because it's for effect, and it's a sort of...
Well, why does Hockney wear them?
Look at me, because Hockney's an artist, and he appreciates the differential of colours, because that's what his job's all about. I mean, so I think some of Hockney's paintings are just beautiful and brilliant, particularly when he paints things like trees and forests and...
What's your favourite Hockney painting?
Countryside. My favourite Hockney painting, I think, is A Closer Winter Tunnel.
A Closer Winter Tunnel?
Yes, which is a painting showing...
How amazing that you know that one.
Yeah. Why is it amazing?
Can you describe the Closer Winter Tunnel?
Yes, what it is it's a long country path or track through a tunnel of trees, and it stretches out into the distance.
You got a copy of it there?
No.
You sure?
No. And the trees sort of fold over it. You know what I mean?
I could not name you a David Hockney painting. Okay?
Well, that shows your ignorance, not mine.
It doesn't show my ignorance. It just means I haven't got anything to hand, which is in front of me, where I can reveal my favourite Hockney painting.
Oh, okay. Well,
what's your second favourite Hockney painting?
Probably Portrait of an Artist.
Which?
Portrait of an Artist. Which I like very much indeed. It shows a picture of a young Hockney standing by the side of a swimming pool with a reflection in the pool.
Oh, I know that one,
and it's an infinity pool type thing looking over a valley in Umbria in Italy. So I'm a very big Hockney fan.
Is that the one with his boyfriend in it as well?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's who the person in the picture is. Yeah, I say a young Hockney,
in
but
the pool.
A reflection of a young Hockney.
Yes,
that's right. Yeah,
exactly.
And
did he not do something on the cover of the Who album? Who Are You? Because they did an album called Who Are You?
Yeah,
of course. But they did another album after that.
Not sure.
After Keith Moon died, and I'm pretty sure they used a lot of images from various artists.
Oh, is that right?
Possibly including Hockney.
Oh, right, okay. Well, anyway, I'm delighted to say that the show, which is being put on at the Tate in May,
yes.
Right.
Is this the old Tate or the new Tate?
Hang on, Tate Britain.
Oh, yeah.
Which one's that?
Well, Tate Britain, I believe, is the old one in Pimlico.
Oh, okay,
as
fine.
opposed to the Tate Modern.
Yeah, which is
the one around the corner.
Yeah. So, anyway, I can tell you it is the fastest-selling show the Gallery have ever held.
Is that right?
In terms of tickets.
Uh-huh.
And it is going to be a sensation. And I have to also say that I have decided that I am going to...
You've decided that you're going to talk very slowly.
No, I'm going to try and buy a Hockney.
You're going to buy a Hockney?
Yeah, I'm going to buy a Hockney.
How much are you going to need for that?
Well,
why don't you just get him to why don't you just commission him to paint you?
That would cost millions. And what I'm going to do is...
You wouldn't need a lot of paint.
I'm going to start my collection of art.
Yes.
My collection of art is going to be with Hockney. And then my eventual ambition will be to buy a Constable, a John Constable original.
Okay. Yes. Well, that's a very good thing. I'm glad to see that you're beginning to become a slightly less of a Philistine in the time that we've been working together. So I'm delighted. You could have Porky's collection. You could have like a private viewing.
Guess
Because you know, in New York, there was all sorts of places where you could go and look at people's private collections of paintings. Paintings which were magnificent,
that's right,
but which were never hung in any public gallery.
Well, that's right, in case they got nicked, presumably.
Well, no, just because people had them in their own home.
Yes, that's right, yes.
There's one actually in Marylebone, because my daughter was telling me she went and had a look through this house, which was owned by one of the sort of ancient families of the country.
Right.
And they had some incredible paintings there.
That's great.
I don't remember the name of it.
That's great. The way that you define a Hockney painting is it has the rare skill of mixing sharp irony with the warmth of love.
Really?
Okay? Yeah.
It says who?
Yeah. Well, that's. I've been talking to some art appreciators.
Is that right?
Yes.
So that's what you think, is it?
What?
Is that what you think?
Yes.
Or is that what other people think?
He's, he painted another one called Mulholland Drive.
I think I know that one.
And it was a picture of Mulholland Drive.
I've been to Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, well, I have as well.
Have you?
Yeah, and
what are you doing there?
What was I doing there? I think I was trying to find the girl who was the prostitute in. What's his name? His car?
Hugh Grant.
Yeah, Hugh Grant's car.
She'd already been bought up by the News of the World.
Yeah, unfortunately she hadn't. She was in San Francisco at the time.
San Francisco,
that's right. Yeah. But he's got such a massive body of work that I am pretty certain, having spoken to some art experts about this very thing, that I'll be able to get one. I'll be able to pick one up. Okay.
Well, I think everything is for sale, particularly in the art world. But the question is, have you got enough money?
Well, this is the point.
Hockney's largest painting is something called Bigger Trees Near Water.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Which measures 15 feet by 40 feet.
That's right. And
you haven't got a place big enough to get that, have you?
Well, that's the size of a wall, so you could actually put it on a wall.
Yeah, but if you've got a wall which doesn't have anything on it, though.
Well, I'll take stuff off the wall.
It might have like a lighting fixture
I'll take
or something
stuff
like
off
that.
the wall. One of his first, most famous paintings was 1967, The Room Tazana.
Oh yeah,
which is now in a private collection in America, but that's being lent back to him for this exhibition. You know what I mean? A man lies on his stomach, naked from the waist down, but for a pair of socks, brazenly erotic and dated to the ear.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to need to get in touch with a couple of his agents, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy called John Casmin, and there's somebody called Annalie Judah Fine.
Yes.
Fine Art, I should say. And she has most recently sold a painting of his for $7.9 million.
Yeah, I thought so. See, that's the problem. He painted one or two of these erotica ones early on, but in the last 30 years, concentrated mostly on these beautiful countryside panoramas, which are truly spectacular.
He was one of the first artists to paint with an iPad as well.
He was, you're absolutely right.
When he got the Brushes app, which is fascinating. I did a bit of that as well, actually.
Yeah.
I might show you some of my work later.
Oh, yeah. Really
we've got lots more to do. Tim Vickery's coming up.
Indeed.
Lisa Daly as well. Ask Porky. It's all happening. This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when
are the two Mikes. Andy says this. Cheshire's most successful basketball team are called the Phoenix and are based in Ellesmere Port, apparently. So not in that place that you said.
Yeah, but Ellesmere Port's not the sort of place you'd go for a romantic weekend.
Are you saying it's a bit of a dive?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
It's not as bad as Swindon, is it?
It's.
I got some grief from somebody in Salisbury actually on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Earlier. So said, very harsh on Salisbury.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those saying that you've been rather cruel and mean to Salisbury. No, Ellesmere Port is an is a sort of petrochemical industrial town.
Okay, a bit like Whitley Bay then.
Not really, because it's near to Stanley Oil Refinery.
Yes.
So and
a bit like Grangemouth then in Scotland.
A bit like Grangemouth in Scotland, definitely. And also there's a Vauxhall car plant there. Where
sounds delightful.
Yeah, well, actually, a few of my mates' dads worked at Vauxhall's in Ellesmere Port, and that's why everybody's driving around in Vauxhall Vivas, you know what I mean? Because you've got a discount car if you work there. The problem was, certainly in the days when...
Well, as you explained last night, the problem is you can get into any other Vauxhall Viva with the same key.
Well, you could in those days.
Drive off in it.
And the other problem in those days was that they spent most of their time on strike, literally. All my mates' dads used to be in the Pied Piper, which was a pub on the dual carriageway ring road at Chester, and they went in there all day because they were usually on strike. No, it's true.
Those were the days.
Oh, it had a terrible industrial
Funnily
record
enough,
then.
I mean, knowing all the car plants was one of those things that you always had in your head, didn't you? Because you always knew where they all were, like Linwood.
Yes, that's right.
And
because they were always
Port.
on strike.
Yeah, because they were always on strike.
Halewood.
Yeah. Here's one from Andy, who says, will Porky keep his art collection in the locked room? Maybe it's already where he stashes his secret location.
Well,
his
no.
secret collection, by the way.
No, but it wouldn't be brilliant, because one of the great things about the Hockney paintings is they're all so vivid in colour, aren't they? That's what they're famous for. You know?
Exactly.
Hey, talking about paintings, by the way, there's a great story knocking around in the art world about a couple who think they found a secret Van Gogh.
Oh, really?
They've already spent £4,000 trying to get it verified, you see what I mean? Because it could be worth anything between sort of 2 and 4 million quid.
They find it in the attic or something. Well, if it's a Van Gogh, it'll be worth more than that.
Well, who knows what it could be worth.
Did he not sell a painting? Well, not he, but a Van Gogh was sold.
About 80 million quid.
For something, not far off $100 million.
Yeah, that's right. But the problem is, what this couple have... they have tried to get it justified, so to speak, and prove that it's a Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Half the art world says it is, but the other half says it's not.
Really?
So they can't actually, they can't get people to accept it.
Yeah.
They think it is a still life, genuine Vincent van Gogh painting, painted in 1884 in Nieuwennen, which is a town in Europe, when Vincent had been back with his parents. He was 31 at the time.
Is it quite a small painting?
I'll show you the size
of it,
actually.
Because if they think it's sort of 2.5 million quid.
See the couple there are holding it?
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, it's quite big then.
Quite a big painting.
Yeah.
And they say that it's definitely a Van Gogh for reasons of pigment analysis.
Yeah.
The ion beam test analysis at the University of Surrey says it was painted between 1883 and 85. The pipe and bottle... Van Gogh's work regularly...
Sounds like the name of a pub.
Yeah, it does actually.
Pipe and bottle.
Yeah, Van Gogh's work regularly featured pipes, such as Vincent's chair with pipe, and other still life paintings feature bottles, and also a signature at the bottom, which says Vincent. Now, those detractors, say actually this was done by a woman called somebody Vincent, and it's not Vincent van Gogh.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, can't they, has she sort of pretended it was hers then, or she pretended it was his?
No, not at all. She painted in her own name, and her name was Mrs. Vincent.
Mrs. Vincent?
Yeah, I'm trying to find her name.
Right.
And she just signed it Vincent at the end.
Because there were lots of paintings that have surfaced over time,
yes,
which were done in the style of somebody else's, more famous works.
Indeed.
Right? And there was lots of those in times gone by, and people find them and go, "Oh, you think that's a Canaletto or something?"
That's right.
And they go, "Oh no, it's in the style of Canaletto because it was in the school of Canaletto, but it's not actually Canaletto."
You see, the problem this couple have got, and this couple are from Surrey, look like a very nice
Stockbroker Belt.
Oh yeah, from Stockbroker Belt. It's their names are Mr. and Mrs. Head, and. Peter Reed's got a monkey's head.
Mrs. Head.
Yeah, and they're from Guildford.
All right. Are they involved with a tennis company?
What'd you say?
Are they involved with the tennis company?
No, not involved with the tennis company. But hang on,
What's his first name?
Well, the gentleman, it's Katharina Head. and Malcolm Head.
Malcolm Head.
Malcolm Head and Katharina Head. Why do you think that's funny?
Fountainhead. Well, it's just a funny name. Anybody called Head.
Good job. His name's not Richard.
Well, that was obviously what I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's Malcolm, is it?
Yeah. Malcolm and Katharina.
Malkhead.
Yeah. And they say that it definitely is,
well, they would say that, wouldn't they?
But the problem is...
But surely if it's signed Mrs. Vincent, then it's obviously not his.
It's not. It's just signed Vincent. So they're saying that's Vincent, as in Van Gogh.
Well, then she's being very, I would say, she's being very sort of underhanded, isn't she, Mrs. Vincent? Because if she's signing Vincent in the same style as he would sign it...
Well, let me tell you, it's gone to the Van Gogh Museum, right?
Okay.
And they've...
Is that in Holland?
Yeah, obviously, it's in Amsterdam,
it might not be. It might be in France.
Well, it's true, yeah. But they've dismissed it. Now, the problem is...
Right.
The museum disputes that it's a Van Gogh,
right,
and say it is more likely that Mrs. Head's painting was by the relatively unknown female Dutch artist Wilhelmina Vincent.
Okay.
And so she signed it Vincent at the bottom. Now, what I haven't been able to establish is what were...
How similar are the signatures would be my first question.
Well, what were the other Vincent van Gogh paintings, like irises, right?
Yeah.
That we know are genuine Van Goghs. How were they signed?
Well, presumably Vincent, because that's how he was known, wasn't it?
A lot of them didn't even have a signature on them. That's the problem. So it's difficult to tell.
Well, maybe he was sort of fitful in how he signs them.
Well, that's right. But it says, well, remember...
But she should have known if she signs Vincent.
Yeah.
Even though she's not Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah.
Or Vincent van Gogh, as he's called in America.
Yes.
Therefore, that would cause some consternation in years to come.
Well, the difficulty there is something we pointed out before, that actually, until about 10 years after his death, Vincent van Gogh never really sold a painting worth anything anyway.
He sold one to his brother.
He sold one to his brother, that's right. So the Dutch artist Wilhelmina Vincent, right, who painted during the same era, had no reason to believe there was somebody with a bigger name than Vincent, with a bigger name than her, you see. Now, the Van Gogh Museum says... the pigments identified were common around 1900. Anybody could have made it. And a spokesman said, the case of the Head's still life painting has been known to us since 1997. And we think to have made it quite clear to them on several occasions that their still life painting is, in our view, not one that can be attributed to Vincent van Gogh due to great stylistic differences.
Okay. Well, that seems to be the end of that then. If they say it's not genuine... then it isn't.
Yeah, but they've got other experts who says that it is.
Nah, but they're the Van Gogh Museum.
Further studies in the London laboratory of private art investigator Dr. Nicholas Eastoe.
Eastoe? Oh, I know somebody called Eastoe. I wonder if he's
This
related.
is spelt A-U-G-H at the end.
Ah, right, okay.
Okay, not O-E.
Different.
Confirmed that all the components on the still life were available to and were used by Vincent van Gogh. An art
Why are you shouting?
Well, I'm just making the point.
Yeah.
An art restorer, Robert Mitchell, who has conserved more than 60,000 oil paintings.
Yeah, but you see, these guys, it's in their interest for it to be Van Gogh, isn't it?
He's done some DNA testing and says further research is necessary because we may even find a fingerprint of Vincent van Gogh in the paint itself.
We may.
It could well be a genuine painting by Vincent van Gogh, but everybody in the art world will always say no before they say yes.
Well, I think that's important. Yes. Otherwise, a lot of people get done. Lucy says this, editions of work are perfect for beginner collectors, more affordable than originals, and often signed by the artist. So
now, what's this again?
Well, it's an edition of a work rather than...
What's an edition?
Well, do you know when you go to, say, for example, an old bookshop, and you say, I'd like to buy the first edition of A Tale of Two Cities?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
You know, it's not the absolutely original work, but it's the first edition. Yeah. And I think so what she's saying is that artists like Hockney will produce a few limited edition type prints.
Oh, I see.
Which they sign, which are still worth a lot of money, but they're not going to be millions. So you might pick one up for, I don't know, 40,000 or something.
Well, sometimes you might even get an outline in pencil of the painting they're going to paint, mightn't you?
What?
Sometimes you might even get an outline in pencil or charcoal of the painting they're going to paint.
Oh, what you mean, like a sort of a first draft type
like a stencil?
Yeah, you could. If that was ever done by Hockney, I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it probably was.
But I think you might be shooting a bit too high if you're expecting to buy Hockney original painting.
Well, I'm going to investigate, because, I mean, if the opportunity was there, then I think it would be very cultural of me to flog a house and buy a Hockney instead.
Yes.
Don't you?
Well, I mean, it could be a better investment in some parts of the country.
Well, but it's more cultural. It makes me a better person.
Yeah, but if you haven't... Well, it doesn't make you a better person. No. This is where you get it wrong. You think by owning things, whether they're of monetary value or artistic value, that improves you as a person. It doesn't. You're the same person.
If I was walking down the street one day and I said to somebody, see that terraced house there?
Yeah.
that's mine.
Yeah.
That's not as impressive as taking somebody into my gallery and saying, see that Hockney on the wall?
Yeah.
That's mine.
It's certainly
see,
not...
that is better. That is better.
Well, I don't think it's a question of whether one's better than the other.
Oh, it is. It is.
Who are you trying to impress?
Well, I'm trying to feel better about myself, you know.
Why don't you buy a proper car, then?
I've got a proper car.
No, I mean a real good car.
I'm about to.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you going to get another better car than mine now?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
Why? So it makes you feel better about yourself.
No, it's just
You've been
evolution.
very grumpy since I got the Jag.
No, it's just evolutionary process. That's
evolutionary
all it is.
process.
Yes. Yeah.
Scott says it's a shame the heads were not called May and Den, but then you wouldn't put those names together, would you?
No, you wouldn't. No.
Maidenhead.
No, you wouldn't. No, definitely not. But anyway, look, it just shows that we have. You know, on this
show...
There's
a lot of art creeping into this show.
A lot of art creeping into the show. We're not Philistines. We're not just, what do you call us? Leatherheads, who talk about sport and nothing more. Neither are we political bores.
No,
we have a cultural side to us.
Speaking of bores, actually,
yes.
I've got a great idea that I'm going to plant upon you a little bit later on in the show.
Okay.
And it's a new device.
Well, that'll be a first.
It's a new device, right?
New device, yeah.
which you can purchase, which basically tells you how boring people are that you're talking to,
really?
When they should shut up.
Oh, blimey! Well, you could do with one of those, couldn't you?
Well, I could do with one of those. Well, I'm thinking of buying one.
Yeah, good.
Because it would give off like an alarm
yes.
when you start talking absolute bolloxios, which is on a regular basis on the show.
I don't think so.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on. Lucy's very kindly sent a link where you can maybe get some affordable limited editions. No Hockney on there, though. So I'll keep looking.
What's it a link to, then?
It's a link to the Tate Gallery shop where you can buy limited editions of certain paintings.
But no Hockneys?
There's no Hockneys
well,
in there
yet.
yet.
I'm after a Hockney, Lucy.
Yeah, but if I give you the link,
could help, please.
Presumably when the Hockney the exhibition begins,
right,
they might well have some there. But they may not be as cheap as £350.
Right.
Anyway, let's say hello to Tim Vickery, who's waiting patiently in Brazil. Tim, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you too. Talking of Hockney, I remember being in kind of East London, North East London, just northeast of centre.
Yes.
And I think it was a German tourist yelling at the bus driver, "Hockney, what is this Hockney? You promised to take me to Marble Arch. Instead, you bring me to this Hockney."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, of course, now everybody wants to go to Hockney because it's the hot part of town, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
And Elvis Costello's not the only one who doesn't want to go to Chelsea.
No,
that's
quite.
right.
Very
There's not
good.
many artists in South America, are there, Tim?
What?
Not many artists in South America.
Full of them. Crawling.
Why would you say that?
Well, name me a world-famous artist, then, from Argentina. I've never heard of one.
Well, there you go.
What, in what sphere of art?
Well, anything, Have they ever painted anything worth, talking about?
They've had one of the great writers, Borges, who memorably described the Falklands conflict as two bald men fighting over a comb. Mm-hmm. He was pretty good.
Yeah, was he? Yeah, okay, I'll take your word for it.
Porky's thinking of embarking upon a career as an art collector, you see.
Well,
so he's looking for...
There's a Brazilian sculptor called Aleijinho, which means little... I can't say this word in political correctness because little cripple.
Little cripple, I see, yeah.
He was absolutely fantastic. I think he suffered from leprosy.
Oh dear, poor chap.
He was even he was chiseling away with his feet as well.
Oh, I see.
And his sculptures are just absolutely fantastic. And if he had the English language behind him,
yes.
Or if he was in Renaissance Florence or something, everyone would know about him. But because you're stuck over the other side of the Atlantic, there are artists here and musicians and so on who just don't seem to make the big breakthrough.
And I presume the guy who designed and built Christ the Redeemer up on Sugarloaf there must also be a very famous Brazilian.
He was French.
Oh, he's French, was he?
Yeah, I think it was a French thing that going on there that was then shipped over the Atlantic. So I don't think we can claim credit for that.
What about Gabriel Garcia Marquez?
Yes, great writer.
Yeah, Colombian.
Or if you're talking architecture, and Brazil had a time when when it was absolutely cutting edge with architecture. Yes. Oscar Niemeyer with all those curves.
Really.
It's just like the South Bank show, isn't it?
It is like the South Bank show, yeah. Well, of course, the Statue of Liberty was shipped in from France as well.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And there's a replica of it in Paris. You know
there
that, right?
There is indeed, yeah.
Anyway, should we talk about some football in South American terms?
What about Luis Suarez?
Yeah, he got sent off. He's going to miss the Copa del Rey final, so maybe he hasn't changed that much after all.
Well, it's exactly 10 years since he made his international debut.
Right.
Exactly. 7th of February. I know you're into the 8th already. 7th of February, 2007, international debut for Luis Suarez. A friendly against Colombia. He helped set up a goal. He suffered a penalty. Helped set up a goal. Uruguay beat Colombia 3-1. And you know what happened at the end of the game?
He got sent off?
Sent off for protesting.
Right.
Now, there have only been 2 times in his international career that he's been sent off. That was one.
Yeah.
Can you name the other?
In his international career?
When he was biting.
When he used his hand to...
it was the biting,
flies
wasn't it?
on you, matey boy. Got it in one. Didn't even have to give you a clue.
When he used his hand.
He started his footballing career there as he intended to go on, because sent off in his first international, and 10 years to the day later, sent off for Barcelona.
Yeah, I see. And sorry, the other sending off an international, it was the biting incident, wasn't it, in the World Cup?
Well, he got away with that one.
No, he got away with that.
It
was when he stopped the ball going in. Do you remember?
Of course he did.
And gave away a penalty against Ghana. Was it the quarter-final or the semi-final?
That's right, the quarter-final.
Wasn't it?
Absolutely.
2010.
Absolutely.
You were there. It was South Africa.
I was, I was
covering
there.
it for Talk Sport.
That's right. Absolutely.
Amazing
Remember
you
it like
forgotten
yesterday.
That. Yeah.
It was yesterday.
He was too busy gazing on works of African art.
Probably, probably was.
He was out collecting in the vineyards, I think, of Stellenbosch.
Yeah, that's right. Stellenbosch was very interesting. So anyway, what does the future hold for Luis Suarez now? One asks. 10 years on is a long time in the international arena, and generally speaking, by about this time, those players, like even Lionel Messi, are thinking of giving it up.
Well, I think he's still at his peak. I think he's been more important to Barcelona than people realise. And let's look at the development of this. And Guardiola, he kind of revolutionised football over a decade ago there with Barcelona when he had Ken Dodd and the Diddy men, little midfielders, and what were they doing? They were passing. It had gone out of fashion. He brought it back there with Barcelona, and they were passing between the lines of the opposing team. Now, every reaction yields a reaction. Yeah. So what did the opposition do? They worked out ways to try and counter this passing. And one of the ways they did it was just to close up, be more compact, so there wasn't the space between the lines anymore. Mm-hmm. What do Barcelona do then? They go out and buy probably the best striker in the world at playing on the shoulder of the last defender. He's brilliant at that. So what does that do? That gives you the option, if the opposition are pushing up, that gives you the option of playing into the space behind them. Where Suarez is so good at timing that run, what happens then? The opposing defence, they have to drop a little bit deeper to cope with that, and space opens up for the likes of Messi. Mm-hmm. So I think he's been a great addition to Barcelona. I think he did him a power of good to get away from the English media frenzy and so on. And he's Uruguay's record goal scorer. He's approaching 50 goals for Uruguay, even with all the suspensions that he has to serve. Yep. But I think he's still got a fair few years in him yet.
And what do you make of what's being said at the moment over here about Pep Guardiola and Sergio Aguero and their relationship and the likelihood that Aguero may leave at the end of the season? Because he's never quite fitted in as an Argentinian international either, has he?
Well, not recently. I mean, his international record is not bad, but recently he hasn't done well at all. I wondered how it would go. I thought at the start that Guardiola would really take to him, and then I thought again, and I remembered that Guardiola's relationship with centre forwards hasn't always been easy. He tends to want them to participate a little bit more than Aguero does. And remember, and even before the sudden rise of Gabriel Jesus. Now, the big game for Man City, when they go away to Barcelona, what does Guardiola do? He leaves Aguero on the bench. Yeah. So I wonder now if Aguero's thinking, well, I'm on my way. Coach doesn't really want me. He's got in a replacement. Maybe it's time for me to go somewhere else. Time will tell, obviously.
Yeah, but he won't go anywhere else in England, will he?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so, no. Even though Chelsea have an awful lot of money to spend.
Yeah, they do. But, I mean, if Chelsea continue the way they're going now, they really don't even need to adjust their team, do they?
I mean, Arsenal could do it, but they won't buy him, will they?
Well, I don't know. They might do, but I mean...
A lot of money to spend. But the thing with Chelsea is, how long can you rely on Diego Costa for?
Yes, yes.
There was a thing about maybe going to China, and was he unhappy?
Yeah.
Is he one for the long term? If not...
No, I don't think he is. I think the agreement with him, as I understand it, is get to the end of this season, and then, he could be off ski on 600,000 a week or something. Yeah.
Well, I guess Aguero could earn that kind of money in China as well, if that's what he thought. Because I saw a line from the manager, or the owner, I think, of Atletico Madrid, who said he was stupid to leave them and go to Manchester City in the first place.
That sounds a little bit bitter, isn't it? Because he hasn't exactly done badly at Man City, and he's won league titles, which he didn't with Atletico Madrid. So I didn't really. That was a little bit hell hath no fury.
Yes.
Yeah, but it suggests he might not go back there anyway. Apparently, there's bad news for the national side Argentina, though. You've got for us from FIFA.
Well, they're playing at under 20 level at the moment, and they're playing very badly. They've got a crunch game tonight in the South American under 20 championships. We're now in the home straight, and it's Brazil-Argentina tonight. And the loser may well miss out on the World Under-20 Cup, which is held in South Korea. Now, Argentina, for years, it's held every 2 years, this competition. Between 1995 and 2007, they won that World Under-20 Cup 5 times. Generation after generation of players, conveyor belt through to the senior side. The last side that won it in 2007 was the side spearheaded by Sergio Aguero. Subsequent Argentine youth sides have been very, very poor, and that has now filtered through to the senior side, who are very dependent on Messi and Mascherano. You take Messi and Mascherano away, and the whole thing doesn't look good at all. So the under-20 thing, it's an important conveyor belt. So that's bad news. And more bad news for Argentina is in the current World Cup qualification campaign, Bolivia got docked points for fielding an illegible player. He was naturalised from Paraguay. He'd been in Bolivia for 3 years. FIFA regulations demand 5 years. So Bolivia have been docked points, and the 2 games that they played with him have been awarded to the opposition 3-0. One of those opponents were Chile. Now, the game finished 0-0, but Chile have now been awarded the game 3-0. That takes Chile above Argentina in the qualification table. Bolivia's appeal has failed, so not good from an Argentina point of view.
Certainly not indeed. And what's happening in Honduras, Tim? Because although we don't talk about Honduras much, there's a bit of scandal going on there, isn't there?
Well, yeah, it's not strictly South America, it's Central America, but this story is so good that I just thought I had to share it with you. It's a big game in the Honduran League on Sunday. Olimpia at home to Motagua. 89th minute, Motagua score an absolute cracker to go 2-1 up. So you think that they've got the points. But Olimpia goes straight back, and they're constructing a move on the edge of the area. And while they're doing this, a supporter has run onto the field, no shirt on, and he's got another ball, and he's dribbling it towards the goal. Yeah. So what happens then is the poor old goalkeeper, he's got 2 shots to save suddenly. He's got one coming in from the official Olimpia player, and he's got another one coming in from a supporter who's just walked onto the field.
I mean, that sounds like Roy the Rovers stuff.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the goalkeeper gets a little bit confused. Yeah. He's trying to look 2 ways at once and lets them both in, and the goal stands, even though this supporter has come on the field.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
This is a YouTube clip. It's well worth seeing. Okay. Olimpia against Motagua. Some of the press reports in Honduras don't even mention the fact that this supporter has wandered onto the field with a ball, but it's so blatant, and he goes off and celebrates as well, so it's quite funny, unless of course you're a Motagua fan.
Yeah, well, exactly. And just one final very quick one. Apparently we were talking about Uruguay. Southampton have signed a Uruguayan player who hasn't played for a year.
Yeah, that's the problem with him, with Martin Cáceres. But he's a gutsy defender, and he started off as a centre-back. He's spent most of his career on either full-back, and assuming you can get him fit, then he's a fella you want to be facing. You want him with you rather than against you. A top-class defender, and he's coming up the 30 mark now. I remember seeing him exactly 10 years ago for Uruguay at under 20 level, and picking him out for World Soccer Magazine as a player with a future. Nearly 70 caps for Uruguay. All Southampton have to do is get him fit, and then they've got someone who I think who can be an asset to the dressing room.
Great stuff. Tim, thank you very much indeed. We're out of time, unfortunately. Tim Vickery reporting in from Brazil. All matters South American and even Central American as well. Luis Suarez, of course, banned from the final of Copa del Rey. How about this one, Porky? This is from Coxie, who says, Porky, I've got a Gerald Scarfe Lady T original cartoon from the 90s, complete with Tipex corrections. worth 40,000 quid.
Mm-hmm.
He says for 70,000 quid, it's yours.
Gerard Scarfe.
You remember Gerald Scarfe? He was a great cartoonist. Did The Wall with
No, I remember it. I'm just trying to. Excuse me. I'm just trying to.
He used to live down the road from my parents, actually.
That's right. Did he do all the big pointed noses in the Sunday Times? And all that?
He did a lot of that. Yeah,
Gerald Scarfe.
Yeah, very much so.
And isn't he married to Jane Asher?
Possibly. I'm not sure about who he's married to.
Who was girlfriend to Paul McCartney for a number of years.
That I don't know.
Yes, I know exactly who he is.
I don't know who he's married to, but he's a very famous cartoonist.
In fact, I know his son.
Very iconic, really.
I know his son, Rory.
Rory Scarfe?
Yes, a friend of mine.
Is he?
Yes.
What does he do?
He's a publishing agent.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, maybe you should talk to him, get something off him from that of that description.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be good.
Absolutely.
But I mean, if you're going to embark on an art collection, I'm sure there'll be lots of people offering you all sorts of things. You can buy one of my dad's paintings if you like.
Sorry?
You buy another one of my dad's paintings.
I've got enough of those. Don't worry. Yeah.
How many have you got?
2.
2.
Yeah.
And one of them's in the Egyptian doctor's flat. Both are.
Yes.
So you haven't even got one of them.
Well,
I mean, that's how little regard you have for my deceased father.
Well, no. I have big regard for your father. He was a great guy and all that kind of stuff. However...
Well, why haven't you got one of his paintings in your house?
Because I've only got a certain amount of wall space for...
but you got a lot of rubbish on your wall, like Wayne Rooney's shirts. I mean, it's not exactly... If you're going to be an art collector, you're going to have to get rid of all that junk and put some proper art up there.
No, I might find another location for it or something like that. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, people in New York sometimes buy apartments just to keep their fur coats in storage. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So I may have to find somewhere to
well, that guy that worked for
put
FIFA
the pictures on the wall.
Had 2 places in Trump Tower, didn't he? One for his dog and one for him.
That's right, absolutely, yeah.
What's happened to him, by the way?
Who knows?
What's happened to that US attorney's investigation? Has anything happened?
Well, I think a lot of things have happened, but I think...
But they haven't done a trial yet, have they?
No, not a trial yet, but I think there's a lot of people still in jail, believe it or not, on remand.
But all those people they arrested in Switzerland and all that, I mean, it's all gone a bit quiet, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're all still in jail in Switzerland.
Are they?
On remand, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain,
Okay.
I've
got some good news for you, by the way. I did manage to get the word to the independent quizmasters yesterday that this week was a very early shout. And so they're well underway. They're well under. What do you mean? Well, they're well underway with the Queen quiz.
No, we're changing. I was going to announce.
What do you mean changing?
I was going to announce 2 bits of furniture.
You can't change it.
To the Two Mikes organisation. Right. Firstly, I have put in a request to change the quiz this week.
Well, with whom?
With you.
Well, you've just done it now.
Well, I did it through the official channels as well to the independent quiz masters because
I've had. How do you know who they are?
Nobody does. Nobody does. But I asked the producer of the show.
No.
Now the point is, I had a lot of stick for choosing the Queen as my winner a number of times.
Your hero, your heroine.
Yeah, my heroine.
3 times out of 5, I think.
Well, apparently that was the case, and so people think that I've got a bit of an obsession with the Queen. So I've decided that this week the quiz will, in fact, be on David Beckham.
David Beckham?
Yes,
okay.
and not on the Queen, OK?
Well, for the first time, good news for Mr Beckham.
Yes.
He doesn't appear to be on the front pages this morning.
That's right, yeah.
Which is quite good.
Yeah.
He's been replaced by... Oh, actually, sorry, I tell a lie. He's on the front page of The Sun with Sharon says, "Get a life, David."
Yes. Yes, okay.
Becky Leaks, they're calling it now.
Yeah, Becky Leaks, are they? Yeah. OK, so that's the first piece of information.
You've seen that picture of Christy Brinkley, by the way?
Christy Brinkley, very fine lady.
63 years old.
Married to Billy Joel, wasn't she?
She was.
And in fact,
63.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, she looks fantastic.
Normally you wouldn't be in favour of a woman of 63 wearing a bikini, would you?
Well, not unless she looks like that.
Well, that's okay then.
Yes, that is okay. And of course, the very famous actress... what's her name? Begins with M. Who was
Marilyn Monroe?
No. She was the detective in the TV series. You know.
What, Cagney and Lacey?
No. The English lady.
Which
she played the Queen as well.
Huh? You mean Helen Mirren?
Helen Mirren, that's the one. Helen Mirren.
Doesn't begin with M?
It does. Mirren begins with M.
Oh, Mirren.
Yeah, and she was pictured.
Dame Helen Mirren, I think.
Dame Helen Mirren. She was pictured last year, in fact, on a beach somewhere in Italy, wasn't she? Looking rather chic as well.
Yes.
No. So the first
bit
of news is we're changing the quiz from the Queen to David Beckham. He will be the subject of the.
That's done deal, is it?
That's done deal.
Okay.
And the second piece of information is we have been receiving a lot of requests about when the new Two Mikes website will be launched.
Yes.
And, in fact, I can tell you it will be a week on Saturday.
Is that right?
Yes.
What date is that?
It's February the 18th.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be an afternoon launch in a very popular watering hole in London.
Is it?
and we'll be up and running that evening. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, jolly good.
So I'll let you know, okay?
And you're going to launch it on a Saturday?
Launch it Saturday afternoon.
Oh, right.
It's going to have your recipe pages on it.
Yeah, it will have, yeah.
It's going to have lots of other features on it. It's going to expand the facilities and accessibility of the two mics, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are. It's going to have lots of good stuff on it. Jim says this: what Porky knows about culture and art you could put on his panicular after he got out of a freezing cold pool.
Yes, well, I'm not going to respond to smutty little insinuations like that. I tell you the one thing the world's going to become aware of tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Is President Obama, who was the 44th president of the United States, wasn't he?
Mr. Trump being the 45th.
Yeah, having left office, now seems to have moved into the house on Necker Island.
Yes, the place that you were in, right?
I've been there, yeah, which is Richard Branson's island in the British Virgin Islands.
Yeah, he was doing some kite surfing, I saw earlier on.
He spent a week learning how to kite surf, and there are TV pictures available, and there's spreads of pictures in the newspapers, including one of Richard Branson, right, a man who is a self-made British billionaire.
Certainly is.
With his hands literally around the president's throat.
Well, the thing about Branson, he's a bit like the Paul McCartney's figure, isn't he?
Yes.
Who always puts his thumb up when he has his picture taken.
That's
Branson
right.
always has to do something daft.
Yeah, like...
when somebody's taking a picture of him, like turning a woman upside down.
That's what he used to do.
Throwing one over his shoulder.
That used to be his favourite party trick, picking a woman up and turning her upside down, throwing her over his shoulder, or dressing up as a woman himself and walking up and down in high heels on his aeroplanes and all this kind of stuff, you know?
So, I dare say that what Branson has done is got himself pretty close to President Obama over the last 8 years.
That's right.
And has somehow managed to convince him to come and hang out with him, which is about to be worth a lot of money to Branson.
Oh, God. Money? I mean, blimey, you'd be able to charge £1 million a week now for people to stay on Necker.
Yeah.
By the way, did you know he's acquired a second island?
Has he?
Called Mosquito.
Mosquito?
Moskito.
Okay.
I didn't even know that.
Right.
Mr. Obama and his wife, Michelle, spent about a week as guests of Sir Richard on the billionaire's 2 private Caribbean retreats, the islands of Necker and Mosquito.
Yes. Well, I guess, when you were there, did you not notice there was another sort of slightly smaller island nearby?
He didn't have a second one when I was there, definitely not.
Well, it hasn't come out of nowhere, has it?
Well, he's acquired it in recent years.
But I mean, it hasn't emerged out of the sea, has it? So
no, what I'm saying...
nearby.
Yes, but what I'm saying is he didn't own it when... I'm not aware of it. No, I wasn't aware that it was even in existence, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you're right. But how amazing is that? It is absolutely amazing, because I bet you... of all the people in the world to spend a week with after he left the White House, I mean, you'd have thought of other political leaders, you know what I mean, in other parts of the world and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I guess from Obama's point of view, he's a relatively safe billionaire because he's not involved very much in the American process, is he? He's not the sort of guy that would be fundraising for him. He's not the kind of guy that would have been paying money into the Democratic Party, probably.
When you think of the titans of American business, like... I don't know, Bill Gates or somebody like that. They've got islands and all that kind of stuff.
I don't think he's got a private island in the Caribbean, has he?
I don't think he needs one. I think the size of his house in Seattle is huge.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But
private house in the world.
If Barack Obama went to spend a week or two with Bill Gates, that would give a very different image to this one. Because this one is with a guy who, in America, is not necessarily a kind of,
a political player.
He's not a political player as such.
Yeah.
Although, obviously, he probably might have been in the past. But so it's kind of safe, I would say.
I see, by the way, that the Speaker, John Bercow, who decided to publicly... What did he do? He defenestrated the President of the United States.
Well, he said he's not welcome in the two houses of Parliament.
That he's given space in the very same place to China's leader and Kuwait's leader, who both have questionable human rights records.
And Lord Fowler, Norman Fowler, who's now the equivalent
Speaker in the House of Lords,
has given him a going over as well, saying it was not his place to say any of that.
Yeah, that's right. And now there's our calls for Bercow's head. But Bercow's a very controversial man. I went to Goodison once when Everton were playing Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I was invited up to the boardroom for a drink before the game, okay? So I go up there and, the guy who opens the door for obvious reasons. That's his job.
His job.
And I went in and I was chatting to everybody and I turned round and sitting at a table of two was Andy Burnham, the Labour MP.
Oh, yeah.
For someone like Oldham or something.
Who is an Everton fan, right?
Everton fan.
Yeah.
But sitting opposite him was John Bercow.
Who's not an Everton fan.
He's an Arsenal fan.
Okay.
And I think he has an Arsenal season ticket or certainly has access to a box at Arsenal or something. And I had quite a long chat with him, and he was under pressure at the time for something else. I think his wife was making the headlines. And all that kind of stuff.
Hanging out in nightclubs.
And he seemed a reasonable enough bloke, but
really?
he does not think a lot of himself.
Well, I think you may have made a bit of an error of judgment there.
He apparently...
He's a very pompous man.
Yeah, when he walks around the Commons, he has like a Praetorian Guard of 3 or 4 people in front of him who shout things like, "Make way for the Speaker of the House!"
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And these people are supposed to, like, force themselves against the wall.
He probably also telling him about low-hanging plants in case he bangs his head on them.
Yeah, that's right, and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting stuff. Actually, I've got a couple of other pieces of news for you coming up on that sort of thing as well. On pomposity and all that. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mikes. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Starry, starry night. Paint your palette blue and grey. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills. Sketch the trees and the daffodils. Catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free.
Beautiful song, isn't it?
It is a lovely song, that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was Don McLean.
It was indeed.
That was his follow-up song to American Pie, wasn't it?
I suppose it was probably the next hit that he had. Yeah.
And it was a completely different style, instead of being the opus magnus that...
Magnus Opus.
Magnus Opus, even, that the American Pie was. It was a sort of beautiful ballad.
Well, he's written a lot of ballads, actually.
Yeah, in tribute to Vincent van Gogh.
Yes, exactly right. Now, speaking of people who are a bit pompous, and, you were talking yesterday about, if you remember, Sir Ben Kingsley.
Oh, yes.
A man who you said always regards himself as being above everybody else.
And a knight of the realm.
One of our listeners, a guy called Tim, ran into him in his local Indian restaurant. Right?
Really?
You
Where
believe
is
that?
it? Where is it?
No, he posted a tweet, right, which I'm going to show you now.
Yeah.
And he said that he was absolutely charming. He didn't insist on being called Sir Ben, but he did insist on the guy taking off his rucksack before allowing him to take a picture. And he said he didn't really want to do a selfie, but they somehow managed to convince him to do a selfie. Yeah. But it doesn't say which local Indian it was in.
Who had the rucksack on?
I presume Tim did. I presume not Ben Kingsley.
Well, who knows? I
mean, there's a picture there.
That's okay,
Isn't that funny?
Okay.
I mean, what a coincidence is that?
Golly, that is incredible. And by the way, this guy's sort of warmly embracing him, so he's, Sir Ben Kingsley's not sort of objected to the touchy-feely nature of it.
He's got his arm around Ben Kingsley. I'm not sure Ben Kingsley knows an awful lot about that.
Yeah, well, that's
and
good.
Apparently
that's
he's
good.
not quite. He's more man of the people style than you were suggesting.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm happy to accept that, and I withdraw any allegations of pomposity whatsoever.
Yes. Now, what about this guy that's having to go across the Atlantic, by the way? Because there's another piece of news on another...
What's this?
There's another lone adventurer, isn't there? Who's going to set off and cross the Atlantic on his own.
I've already called him Captain Pugwash.
Captain Pugwash seems a bit harsh.
In a tweet. Well, these guys, what happens is they go off, the great adventurers and all that, and then we have to risk other people's lives, usually, to rescue these guys when they suddenly...
The swimmer, to be fair, didn't get very far,
idiotic swimmer who will swim the Atlantic. Oh, really? How far did he get? 16 miles or something?
No, he was a bit further than that. But
I don't think it was.
But maybe he shouldn't have been practising in the Cheltenham police swimming pool.
No, exactly.
He should have probably been practising in something that was a bit more like the Atlantic.
That's right. Somebody should have warned him to put a bit of the old anti-jelly sting spray on.
He got stung, didn't he?
Yeah, almost paralysed him, the amount of stings he got and all that kind of stuff. Completely idiotic individual. He'd be better off swimming in a river or something like David Williams did.
Well, that's not very safe
ocean swimming, of course, is not for the faint-hearted.
It certainly isn't, no.
Listen, what do you think of... businesses that put sandwich boards out on the pavement to advertise their wares?
Well, as long as the pavement isn't impaired and the pavement's big enough to handle them, I would say that's absolutely fine and dandy.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's a great part of business when they put these boards out. Traditional fish and chips or, pint of bitter, £2.50 on Tuesdays.
I quite like it if they. I mean, there's a certain sort of line that must not be crossed. I quite like it if there's something funny on them.
Yes.
As long as it's not too stupid, if you know what I mean.
And anyway, let me tell you.
What do you mean anyway?
Well, I'm just about
do you know what I'm saying? Some of them put funny messages on.
Yes, that's right. I agree.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. But anyway, York is now banning them because they can be a danger to blind people.
Well, I can see that.
I can as well, but the point is that...
but lots of things are a danger to blind people.
Of course they are,
because
that's what
they
I'm
can't
saying.
see anything.
Blind people have dogs, guide dogs, which are very efficient and are trained to a very, very high standard. And I think it's a little bit unfair to, to dent the ability for a trader to express himself through his business and sandwich boards and all that for the sake of, what is basically a minority of people in society who we do look after to our best of our ability.
But it's a great example, once again, is it not, of, a sort of sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Yes.
Yes, of course it might be dangerous if there was an awful lot of them littering the pavement and so that people who were sight impaired were having difficulty manoeuvring around them.
Yeah.
But it's not, you don't have to ban everything, do you?
Yeah.
Why would you ban it?
After months of wrangling with locals, officials in York insisted that A-boards, as they're called, I call them sandwich boards.
Well, I guess because they're shaped like an A.
That's right, yeah. Left little safe space for pedestrians, and obstruction had become a very real problem for those who were blind, partially sighted, or used a wheelchair. Much of the city centre has narrow streets that still follow the old pattern within the medieval city wall, and some even mark Viking property boundaries that date back 1,000 years. All of that I agree with, but the thing is that, you see, this is another situation with cyclists, really.
Yeah.
A minority of people get on bikes, they use the roads for a minority period of the day, and yet they take up 1/3 of the total road space of some parts of great cities like London.
That's true.
And it's ludicrous to overcompensate minorities because you're then patronising them.
Yeah.
And that patronisation doesn't do anybody any good.
Well, also, there's no point, as I say, in banning all sorts of things because, with the best will in the world, if you are sight impaired and you're not able to see as well as other people, there are lots of things that could be a danger to you as you walk on the street. I mean, curbsides could be a danger.
Yeah.
Pavements that are uneven could be a danger. But, they don't make sure that all of the pavements are actually hammered down properly, do they?
No, I totally agree. Bradford, by the way, Bradford City Council has imposed a year-long ban while they assess the situation. And in Liverpool, the City Council has licensed A-boards since 2012 and enforces guidelines such as leaving a 2-metre clearance area around them. Well, that's fair enough. And not putting them in conservation areas outside listed buildings.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure about that because listed buildings are sometimes the most interesting buildings, aren't they?
And also a lot of organisations that use sandwich boards, or A-boards, whatever you want to call them, they tend to be sort of local traders. They tend to be people who have got smaller businesses.
Also,
so it's another attack on small business.
Of course it is. And there's going to be another attack on small businesses soon because, there's a rates review, a business rates review going on at the moment. And it's going to increase some business rates by 400%. I mean, it's quite ridiculous the way it's been done.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say about these sandwich boards is quite often they're not advertising wares outside your premises. They are to direct you to the premises.
Yeah.
So you're walking along the main road and there's a little alleyway in some place like York or Chester or somewhere like that.
Right.
And there's a sandwich board at the end saying, come to, Porky's Pantry. Get yourself, a pie and a pint for £2.50 or something like that. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't see it otherwise.
No, you wouldn't see it.
So they wouldn't have... It's like those signs that you see when you're driving around Britain.
Exactly.
And you get a sign for a pub.
That's right.
And you end up driving down a road for ages and ages and ages.
That's right.
And sometimes you never find the
that's
pub.
Right. Exactly.
I think sometimes they're just phantom signs.
Oh, there's those all over the place. There's one I pass, it's called the Stag, I think, or something. And I went looking for it once. And you're right, I drove about 2.5 miles. And I thought...
Well, it's typical in this country. You drive for a while. And then you never see another sign.
No, that's right. Exactly.
It's like, well, where's the second sign?
Exactly.
To help you along.
Exactly.
Talking of business rates, by the way, we've seen the front page story in the Times.
What's it say?
Which says Britain faces biggest tax bill for 30 years.
And that's a
Public
problem,
purse under increased pressure from spending cuts. You know what that means, don't you?
Well, it means
they're going to come after people like you to pay more of your fair share.
Well, I don't mind paying my fair share, and I'm very happy to, as long as everybody else does, and as long as the money that the government takes, they don't waste on ridiculous policies like the huge size of our overseas aid.
Well, it's not that huge.
Bill. It is huge, and the point is that I want to help people in the developing countries to have better lives and to become a modern country more quickly. But we all know, both from anecdotal evidence and from research done by those who are up to it, that an awful lot of that money is wasted well, it's wasted. It's given to despots. It's given to people who misuse it and abuse it. And
that is by far and away the smallest amount of money that goes out of the budget. And there's many other ways.
It's got to be drawn in.
There's many ways that they waste it. Tax receipts will exceed 37% of national income for the first time since Thatcher's government in 1986, when she was paring back the size of the state.
Yeah.
This is according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, which means basically they're going to try and eliminate the persistent budget. I don't know why they're going to try and eliminate the budget deficit. They haven't tried for years and years and years.
But what is the consistent pattern here? The consistent pattern is this. After years of socialist rule, you end up with a huge bill. And then you get years of Tory rule where they try to cut it back. And then you get your years of Labour rule, which ends up with a huge... It happens all the time. That's a consistent pattern of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Because
Although it's becoming less and less extreme, isn't it? You know, in terms of who's been in. Blair, I mean, you wouldn't really call Blair a socialist, and you might call Gordon Brown a bit of a socialist.
Oh, Gordon Brown was a...
And by the same token, you wouldn't call David Cameron an arch Tory either.
Gordon Brown was a rabid tax and spend chancellor.
He was.
I don't care whether Tony Blair was a socialist or not.
Blair was not a socialist.
But he was the Prime Minister who allowed the Chancellor to dictate by the fiscal power of taxes, and that caused us a huge problem. And, by the way, I'm not necessarily criticising. I'm saying that one philosophy is to spend huge amounts of money and let the state control people's lives, and the other philosophy is not to spend huge amounts of money and allow people to spend their own money.
Yeah.
And when the two clash, you get chaos.
You do get chaos, but somehow that seems to be what it's been like for years and years and years and years. Anyway, coming up next, we're not going to talk about chaos, we're going to talk about dating.
Yes.
And whether you've got something in common with someone who hates the same thing as you, and much, much more as well with Lisa Daly.
Yes.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
And I despise yet I adore you. And I hate how much I love you, boy. Yeah. I can't stand how much I need you. I need you. And I hate how much I love you, boy. But I just can't let you go.
Stevie has texted in. He says, I'm a blind person who lives in York and I really can't see what the problem is with these sandwich boards.
Right, good.
Well, I mean, I suppose you might not have a problem with them where you are, but maybe other people do. We shall see. Anyway, let's talk about matters of the heart.
Indeed.
Which we do occasionally with Lisa Daly.
Yes.
Lisa is back with her relationship advice, which
Excellent.
is always very, very good. Lisa, very good morning to you. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
Lovely
Not
to
at
hear
all.
from you
We
again,
always
Lisa.
look forward to having you on the show. Now, I'm amazed that anybody would want to get this new app, which is all about finding people who believe and hate the same things that you do. Surely the whole point of going out with someone is that you have a few arguments and you have a few differences of opinion. Why would you want to be with someone who agrees with everything you say?
Why would you want to just spoil that right away when you could, wait until you've been dating a couple of months and then have the big blowout over politics or whatever? Yeah, it's funny because there's been some interesting research from sociologists about how people often connect with each other based on their hatred of other people.
Yes.
And so there is some something to this sort of idea. And when I'm thinking about it, I think I hate to camp. Like, camping to me is like it's a fate worse than death. I would rather go to hell than to go camping.
Porky hates camping as well.
Yeah, I do.
There's two things. There's one thing in common you both got.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, the call of the wild and all that, sleeping under canvas, creepy crawlies all over the floor. No, thank you. Lisa, you're
thank you.
Yeah,
so I think we could bond over our mutual distaste of sleeping on the rocks and peeing outside.
I totally agree.
I think we could.
Now, Lisa, I think this is a very good idea. This app about I hate what I hate, because surely that gets rid of all the small talk, doesn't it? The first two dates are always, you're feeling your way around.
What?
I don't mean literally.
What do you mean?
I mean literally.
Well, there's that picture of you at the Savoy with the lovely Sarah feeling your way around her.
Well, I'm just trying to make her feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But, no, what I'm saying is, you could actually have a great and explosive first date by agreeing on all the nerds in society that you dislike, of all the situations, the public transport and things like that you like, of all the politicians politicians that you hate, and all the the social no's that the two of you enjoy together. So I think it's a winner.
I think that people do that on online dating anyway. I think that I think it's really clever. It's sort of a different, instead of bonding over things that you like, which is kind of funny. I mean, there are lots of sites where you can date the same, person of the same political preference.
Yeah.
Or there was a funny little story in the article today about this app about women who love beards and guys who have beards getting together. Right? Or people who love bacon, which I think is a fabulous idea because bacon is delicious.
Yeah.
So you are already doing that kind of thing when you're meeting someone online. You're already talking about, oh, I love this, or I don't like this, or I hate camping. And on paper, you can match up with someone perfectly. But as you know, you can go out on a date with somebody who sounds like they would be great, and maybe their picture's attractive, and you've had some good, sort of email rapport back and forth, but you actually get there and there's just no spark. Yeah. And that's because we can have things in common with people.
Most women get to that point with him after the first 20 minutes, to be honest.
That's a bit harsh.
And still not connect. So,
but also, if there's
sort of a different way of getting to the same point.
I mean, I don't know exactly how this app works and how different it is from other ways, as you say, that people tend to have things in common anyway. But it's also open to abuse, isn't it? Because, particularly now when the world, particularly in the US and Europe, is so polarised by certain issues, like Donald Trump, for example. People are going to pretend to be a Trump hater in order to get into the pants of a girl that they like the look of, aren't they?
They might, although it doesn't quite work like that. So what happens with this particular app is that you see different things, like say you see a picture of Taylor Swift, and if you like Taylor Swift, you're going to swipe up. If you hate Taylor Swift, you're going to swipe down. And if you couldn't care either way, you'll swipe to one side or the other.
Oh, I see.
Same thing with bacon or Barack Obama or whatever.
The Patriots. I see somebody was demonstrating against the Patriots yesterday in America.
The Patriots. Well, everybody's acting like and it is a huge deal. It's a great accomplishment to have won 5 Super Bowls, but let's not forget that the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 6.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
You have some interest in the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously.
Just a little teeny bit. Just a little, just the 6 Super Bowls. So it is one of those. So and it's not until you've sort of picked things that you like and hate that the app will match you up. Like, oh, this person over here also hates Taylor Swift, camping, this, and this, and burritos. And that's when it connects you.
The thing is, Lisa, none of these are fail-safe, and I'll tell you why. Because, you read in magazines occasionally about people who are always trying to find a partner on an internet dating site and all that. They think they've got the perfect partner. And I read one the other day. The woman got into the restaurant first, couldn't believe when the guy that she was dating turned up. He was dressed like a tramp because she'd never actually asked him what his sort of attire was like. She thought she'd got his his personality perfectly grounded, and then found that the bloke walked in not only dressed like a tramp but with a rucksack on his back carrying all his possessions, and she immediately realised that it was a complete waste of time for being there, and managed to get out before they actually even made contact. So even the best laid plans of mice and men, what do you hate, what do I hate, there are some questions you don't ask because they're just too obvious.
Right. They're not. Or you just make assumptions based on the other factors that you do connect over. And if you think about it, when we're looking for love, you're in the early stages of a relationship, let alone when you're first meeting someone, we're very willing to sort of overlook those, those flaws, things that later on we would really, or maybe on paper, would really bother us because our brains are sort of shut down with all these hormones and chemicals when we are in the initial stages of attraction. So the things that make us crazy,
and they lie to each other, don't they? People lie to each other because they don't either one want to upset the other person, or they don't want the other person to think they're a horrible person. So they give a different opinion to the one they really hold.
Which is terrible. You're absolutely correct. Lying is absolutely rampant in online dating. It's probably the worst problem with online dating. But the other thing is it's really a terrible strategy if you're a dater, because if you're lying, if you're trying to pretend that you are someone else or that you have different opinions or you like different things in order to attract someone, you're going to attract someone who is interested in someone who's different than you are. Right. I mean, eventually you're going to have to stop sucking in your gut and pretending you like PBS and just be who you are. Yeah. And if you're not, sort of trusting that there's actually someone out there who will like you for you and all your little weirdnesses, then you're doing yourself a big disservice, but you're also wasting the other person's time.
You sure are. You see, if it happened with me, Lisa, the thing that would kill off my romantic intentions immediately would be if we sat down at the table and then broke out the old Pinot Grigio. That's great, a few glasses of that. Then the menu comes along, and suddenly this lady orders snails in garlic.
What's wrong with that?
I can't stand garlic. If anybody in my company's eating garlic, I have to leave. And I would leave.
Well, you're just a very odd, intolerant person.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Do you understand my position there, Lisa, don't you?
Do you have a garlic allergy?
No, I just hate garlic.
No,
I can't.
Really, really hate it.
I don't like the taste of it. I don't like it on people's breath. I don't like it on my breath. I think it's.
You eat Indian food, though, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Which has garlic in it.
Not to a huge extent.
There's still quite a lot of garlic.
Antisocial behaviour. I mean, I just can't stand it. So that would be a deal breaker immediately for me.
Well, and the thing is there's certainly another person out there in the universe who is willing to either give up garlic or who hates it as much.
Yeah, but they might be ugly. I mean, there are certain rules.
But, I mean, would he be able to discover from this app?
Of course.
Would he be able to discover from this app whether there are people out there who don't like garlic? I mean, does it come up with stuff like that, or do you have to enter that into it?
It does come. No, it comes up with thousands of strange, weird little things. So garlic could certainly be something.
Right.
And it is funny what people bond over. They certainly can bond over. I mean, long term, you can probably have some fun talking about the things that you hate. Certainly, I do occasionally.
Yeah.
But you also have to have things that you like and that you love together. Because if your entire relationship is based on negativity, then you're going to be doomed.
That's not going to be good.
Well, that's the problem.
That's not going to be good.
For instance, if I said to the lady, on the I hate thing, I want to see your fingernails, please. I like ladies with blood red fingernails. Okay.
Blood red fingernails.
Yeah. I don't like...
You mean ones with nail varnish on?
Exactly, with nail varnish. I don't like ladies who chew their fingers, their fingernails even, and that would be an important aspect. I think a lady picking up a glass of champagne with elegant long red fingernails is a very attractive part of their personality.
It's very shallow, isn't it, Lisa?
No, I don't think it's shallow.
People like what they like. You're attracted to what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
So are you going to, are you going to long-term be attracted to a nail biter? Probably not, because that's going to be one of those little niggly things that just makes you crazy.
Yeah, but is any woman going to want to be walking around the house with her fingernails painted red 24 hours a day? Probably not.
Well, I don't know. I never leave the house without a pedicure. So
exactly.
There are definitely some women that like that, and maybe if she's a woman who likes lovely long purple fingernails or lovely long pink fingernails, maybe you adapt, not just red, and maybe sometimes she goes red for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a much better idea for Porky, right? Yeah. There's a new device which is out there, which has been created at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and it's basically a watch, which is not actually a watch, but it's got loads of sensors in it, right? And it captures all sorts of physiological data while you're speaking to somebody across a dinner table or perhaps at an event or something like that. And it basically measures whether or not you are boring people and when it's time to shut up.
It's funny that this is created at MIT because you have a lot of really smart people there, and a lot of times really, really smart people are really terrible with social things.
They can be boring.
They can't. All of us can be boring. I mean, and we can be, someone who's really interesting to me might be completely boring to you or vice versa. So I think it's fascinating. Certainly any tool that helps you improve yourself is going to be a good thing. But I think that the best way to know whether or not you're boring people is to spend more time asking questions and less time talking about yourself. That's really just the
that's no use to you, is it? You like talking about yourself.
No, the point is, after half an hour, if I can't stimulate conversation from a lady which makes me feel interested in her, then that's it as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to try
so you get up and walk out?
Well, I don't get up and walk out, but I sort of curtail whatever the medium-term plans were for that particular meeting. You see what I mean?
I got one here from Gary, who's tweeted at the two mics. He said, Porky has just matched himself with Dracula.
What? Are you mad? Yeah.
He doesn't like garlic either.
The blood red nails.
Yeah,
blood red fingernails, and he doesn't like garlic.
No, that's absolutely true. Don't. Yeah, it's true.
Excellent.
Lisa, I'm sorry, you're not taking this seriously enough. Don't you understand that I have there are certain personality traits that are very important to me and my partner?
Exactly.
I do. I'm really giving this my best thought right now.
Good.
I'm going to come up with a blood red nail anti-garlic strategy.
Yes, please.
To be honest, Lisa, you've got much more in common with Porky than most women do, so you're already on a roll here. So, just have to work on a couple more things, paint your fingernails, and, we'll talk to you soon.
That's right. You lucky lady.
I know. My heart is just fluttering away right now.
That's great. That's good to know. Don't fight it. Don't fight it, Lisa. It's a normal reaction.
Yeah, this is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Coming up in the next hour, of course, it is Ask Porky. If you've never had a problem solved or a question answered by Mr. Parry live on air, now's your chance to do it. We've got loads and loads of them, so we don't need any more, but if you've got a particularly good one, it might be included, and you can send it at the Two Mics on Twitter or put it on our Facebook page.
Indeed.
Lots of people are reacting well to your conversation with Lisa. Adrian says, is it me or does this woman seem like Porky's ideal woman?
Well,
camping, nails, he didn't attack her.
Yes.
Hashtag First Mrs. Parry.
No, I think Lisa is a wonderful lady, and she has certain aspects of her character which I find very appealing.
Kai says this: my mum absolutely detests garlic, can't have it in anything.
Yeah.
Too bad she doesn't like planks either. Sorry, Porky.
Very funny indeed.
Chris says, single women up and down the country biting their fingernails to ward off Porky's advances.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I don't think so. I think you'll find that a few of them will be going out and buying the false nails that they stick. I don't like those much either, actually, those false nails.
Well, somebody sent a picture of these very long ones, which are ridiculously long.
Oh, no, I can't stand those when they
What do you think of those like French nails? You know, the ones that are basically clear, but they've got sort of a very white, large cuticle. And they're sort of called French.
I think they're okay, but I think they look like a bit tarty, you know what I mean?
Well, you don't want tarty nails, then.
No, red nails look very natural, or
natural.
Or blue or black or something, but no, white I think is a little tarty.
Well, no, it's not white. It's just it's like a see-through nail, but it's a fake nail.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's much longer than a real nail.
I don't know why women put fake nails on, because I can tell them from a mile off, can't you?
Well,
anybody can.
Well, I suppose so, but I mean, for the same reason they put makeup on, for the same reason that they get their hair done, they might think that they look nice.
Yes, but you know that the application of makeup on a woman's face is not her natural skin.
Whereas
ladies with natural long nails, I think, are magnificently attired.
There's actually a new... but I mean, they're not very practical. I mean, if you're growing your nails, I mean, it's quite difficult
funny you should say that.
It's quite difficult not to break them.
I've been out with plenty of ladies who I was amazed that they had long nails because they were secretaries and they were like they were hitting keyboards all their life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But always hit the right buttons and all that kind of stuff. And I used to say
always
to them...
hitting the right buttons.
Always hitting the right buttons, yeah. And the reason they can do that is that they actually tap the buttons with the end of their nails. So it's actually more efficient than using their fingers.
That's okay as long as the nails are hard enough, but then you can actually how you break them, though.
Well, no, it's they don't. They said
there's a new kind of fake nail that you can get now, though, which is actually it's a kind of wax nail. Which doesn't break.
Nail?
Yeah, it's like it's sort of painted on, but it doesn't break.
Yeah.
So have a look into that. Julia says
I don't
this.
want to look into that. I don't actually wear false nails. You know
because if you're going out with a woman who's got those types of nails, you might not be able to spot that they're false, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's better that you're armed with all the information.
Very strange thinking, yes.
Why?
Well, I don't know.
Well, you said you don't like people with false nails.
No, I don't.
What I'm saying to you is if you saw these new fangled false nails, you would not know they were false.
All right, well,
so it would not reveal about the woman what you think it would.
My response to that is if they didn't look false, I'd assume they weren't false.
Okay.
Yeah.
Julia says this, Porky, I'm willing to give up the garlic if you give up the fish fingers and smash.
Fish fingers and smash is a completely inoffensive meal, but the garlic, I'm afraid, can be rather overpowering.
Adrian says it's difficult to understand why Porky's not lucky and lovey. He's so caring and full of give and take.
I am. I agree. I totally agree with that.
I don't think that's necessarily what is the scenario.
No, I think there's a bit of sarcasm.
No, I've got a story for you about your mate Vladimir Putin.
Oh, right, okay, Vlad, yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard of a man called Vladimir Karamurza?
No.
He is apparently one of Vladimir Putin's, shall we say, opposition members of the political sphere, right?
Okay.
And he has, for the second time, been rushed to hospital with organ failure on the day that he was supposed to be flying to the United States of America.
He's not had a cup of plutonium tea or anything,
well,
has he?
We're not sure. He's now in a coma. He's a critic of Vladimir Putin's, right?
Yeah.
And he was flying to the US, supposedly to speak about Vladimir Putin in the US.
Okay.
But he has, sadly...
never actually got there.
He's now fighting for his life 2 years after he was poisoned before, which almost killed him the last time, but he managed to survive.
What happened last time? What were the circumstances last time? Do you know?
The last time he was, they believe he was poisoned. He's been on a ventilator most recently.
He's not had much luck, this guy, lately, has he?
He says in a separate interview with The Independent, Mrs. Karamurza said that her husband had been due to fly to the US on the day that he was hospitalised.
Right.
Because basically he was suffering from acute kidney failure, which was also the problem back in 2015 and 16.
That means that somehow he's been taking in poison, hasn't he? Because if it's closing his kidneys down, that's actually very serious. So with it being Russia, the insinuation and the suggestion will be that maybe the hardline security services have been trying to kill this man.
Yes, it would seem so.
Or certainly disable him anyway.
And it would seem that this is the second go they've had.
Yes.
And it's not looking very good for him, I'm afraid.
Maybe he's got the Rasputin effect.
He's fighting for his life. Me. Yeah. He's fighting for his life. We shall see.
It's bad news, that. I mean, once you're targeted like that, you should actually leave the country and go live somewhere else.
Well, I think that's what he was trying to do.
Well, I think he was trying to get to America to, in quotes, expose Vladimir Putin. And that's not really a great career move in Russia, is it?
Well, it's not. But
to go around doing that, what do you expect?
But the guy surely should be allowed to leave Russia. And if they don't want him there, they can say, well, you're not welcome here.
Yep.
But, we're not going to kill you just because you want to be critical of the leader.
Well, yes,
it's not really the way to go.
I totally agree with all that in any civilised society, but I've said it in the past, I'll say it again. All countries make their own rules, and once anybody on the outside tries to get in the way and start messing around with it, only tragedy will emerge, as we've seen in a host of countries across the Middle East, which Western powers decided they would revolutionise and civilise and bring democracy to.
Yes.
The most stupid and irresponsible foreign policies that have affected the globe have all been committed in about the last 25 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a bit of a simplistic argument. I don't say I agree with it, but there are some elements of it which are true.
Of course, there's been a First World War and a Second World War, but what I'm saying is, without actually having to respond to aggression and a war, we have made a complete mess of a huge part of the globe, which has ramifications.
What would you have done after 9/11 then?
After 9/11, I'd have dealt with it in a non-combative way. Because well, I don't know, because I'm not in charge of the massive organisation called the CIA. But the point is, it became very, very clear after America invaded Iraq that Iraq didn't like anything about the people who attacked America. I mean, they hated Osama bin Laden as much as the Americans did. And B, they didn't have any weapons of mass destruction.
No.
It was a disastrous venture.
But they had invaded Kuwait a few years earlier.
And been thrown back out.
Yes.
And George Bush, the father of George W. Bush... George W. was the man who made the second invasion of Iraq, right? The one that's now created turmoil and chaos around the world. But his father was very wise.
Yeah.
His father sent the troops...
Well, people think that his father should have finished Saddam Hussein off, and then that would have caused a lot fewer problems.
No, they don't. They praise him for not finishing Saddam Hussein off, because if you'd have finished Saddam Hussein off, you'd have had the same problem his son then cast upon the world. Who takes his place? And once you leave a vacuum in any Middle East country, you have 6 or 7 competing groups of nutters all trying to vie for the throne. And that's what the problem is.
Right, so they should have just kept Saddam Hussein in office then, but he would have died eventually anyway.
That's what they did.
But he would have died eventually anyway.
Of course he would, and there would have been a successor's pattern. But what I'm saying is, by keeping him in office, the country was still stable. If you got rid of him...
Well, it was stable as long as you weren't one of the people getting shot to death or bludgeoned to death or, tortured to death.
Well, it's not the responsibility of the Western world to go around saying we don't like the way they run their countries because 1% population of the population is getting a raw deal. We're going to go in there and change that. They've no right to do that. None of us have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, life would be a lot more simple if you were running everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would, yeah. I agree.
You'd be like Trump. You'd be blundering about making mistake after mistake.
No.
It'd cause even more problems.
No, I don't think so.
That would be the most difficult thing to actually handle.
No.
It would.
No. I think legitimately, sensibly and logically, it's only a
You
pity.
think sensibly and logically?
Yeah, it's only a pity that people who have voted into... I mean, David Cameron's decision to sort out Libya was another massively disastrous policy.
Well, he was doing that on the advice of the Americans, though, wasn't he?
Well, also, he wanted to chum up with his mate in France, didn't he, old Sarkozy, and, I'm going to liberate the Middle East. Tony Blair, I'm going to liberate the Middle East. They're all mad. They're all mad to have done that,
Yeah, but I don't know what the alternative would have been. You can't just leave it alone, can you?
You can leave it alone. You should have left it alone.
It can't be left alone because if you leave it alone, then Israel will cease to exist and Israel will have a problem with that.
No.
The Iranians will start attacking
Well, hang on. We left it
around
alone.
their borders.
We left it alone until old George W. got involved, and Israel does
You must be
exist
joking.
and has existed ever since.
What do you think ISIS are fighting about?
Sorry?
ISIS are fighting about the fact that the borders, which they don't believe have been created by the West, which should never have been created by the West, are to be done away with. So the idea that we never invaded the Middle East or we never got involved with the Middle East is not true.
No, we did not invade the current structure of the Middle East, the one that survived since the Second World War.
We created it.
I know we created it.
We created the borders.
I know we did.
That's what the fight's about.
No. Never mind the fight now. Pre-9/11, it was a stable Middle East.
Well, I wouldn't
because
call it that.
each country
you were in a war zone in the Middle East before that.
Had a strong individual leader. Americans will always protect Israelis' borders. That was part of the deal. And that part of the deal
I think you're wrong
survived
to call
for 40 years.
Well, it didn't really. There
It
were wars all over the place. There were wars in Lebanon. There were wars in the Golan Heights.
Yes.
There were wars, in Syria.
Yes.
There were wars everywhere.
But there weren't countries being smashed to pieces and millions of refugees then dispersing across the world.
Different. That's a different
argument.
Well,
that's a problem I'm telling you about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, luckily we're out of time on that one because we're getting a bit too serious. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. The Porky quiz has been dramatically changed in the... no, I wouldn't say the final hour, but it was going to be on the Queen. It's now going to be on David Beckham.
That's right.
It's not entirely unrelated, I suppose.
No.
Given that, the stories have all been about whether he was going to get a knighthood from the Queen. And whether or not, in fact, he was grovelling to the Queen.
Absolutely.
To try and get one. I read a story yesterday towards the evening which suggested that he's now given up any hope of getting a knighthood in the short term.
Oh, really?
Which is probably quite sort of wise of him.
Well,
really.
I mean, I think he's been very unfairly treated, private conversation, all that. In fact, funny enough, I do often speak of my admiration for Times columnist Matthew Syed, right? And keep a close eye on what he writes. And in fact, his column in tomorrow morning's, or this morning's, I suppose, Times, says it's crazy to criticise Beckham for wanting a knighthood, which is exactly the way I feel.
Well, it depends. I mean, it's one thing to want a knighthood, and it's another thing to, I suppose, actively compete for one and to actively lobby for one. I suppose that is where the difference lies, isn't it?
Well, Matthew says here, it's natural to seek kudos for charity work. I do it, why shouldn't Beckham? In 2002, I co-founded a charity that helps kids from deprived areas through sport. The organisation now employs 80 people full-time, operates across the capital. Do I care about the children helped by the organisation? Yes. Is that part of the driving force behind the time I give to the charity? Yes. But do I also gain personal benefits from being a high-profile member of the organisation, and are these a key part of the reason for being involved? Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
So, everybody has motives to what they do in life, is basically what he's saying, and don't knock David Beckham just because he felt he should have some recognition for what he'd done. And I totally agree.
Yeah, well, Kevin O'Sullivan, who's a friend of our show, right?
He certainly
posted this on Facebook yesterday, right? He said, the thing about this sordid David Beckham knighthood scandal is that none of it will come as a surprise to Fleet Street showbiz hacks, who have endured his tiresomely relentless PR operation for many years.
Yes.
Polishing David's halo has made lots of people lots of money, especially him. His ambitious wife, the inaccurately nicknamed Posh, is said to have once dismissed her hopelessly dim husband as an Essex yob. I think the public can now see where she was coming from. People bought into all that golden balls claptrap, and they now realise they have been hoodwinked. Posh and Becks were nothing more than a carefully created, obscenely lucrative image, and has become depressingly clear that nothing like the truth.
Yeah,
and he's a guy, I guess, who would have had a lot more dealings with Beckham's PR people and Beckham's sort of general kind of organisation than we have had.
Sure, but I've known Kevin for years, and he's a great operator, and whenever he comes on and talks on the radio, he has some great views and opinions and insights, but that sounds to me like a man who's bitter he's never had an exclusive sit-down with Becks, you know?
I wouldn't say it's that at all. I think it's the fact that he knows a lot of people who've had
talks with Becks.
Have you?
Yes.
And did you ask him any hard questions?
Yeah, of course I did. Asked him all hard questions. Well, I asked him about... Well, one time I asked him about his fundraising and all that kind of stuff, and how much he thought he should put back into football because what had given him all those sort of tough questions.
Tough questions. You're renowned for it, aren't you?
Yeah,
you're renowned for asking tough questions. I mean, you get very flattered when you see somebody famous.
What do you mean?
You get very sort of dewy-eyed about it.
No,
you like to be nice to people.
Don't.
Yes, you do. Absolutely right. Now, here's a guy that you would not be nice to.
Take it in my stride, mate. Take it in my stride.
Here's a guy that you would not be nice to, and he's a man by the name of Robert Jenner. From Eccles in Kent, right? Now, I don't know if you've been to Eccles.
Eccles in Staffordshire.
But he's just come out of a 2-day trial at Maidstone Magistrates Court, right?
Yes.
And guess what he was up on charges for?
Tell me.
He was up on charges for 11 public order offences because he was causing supposedly alarm and distress to many of his neighbours by carrying out chores, gardening and DIY tasks without any clothes on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sorry, but weirdos like that should be jailed or put into some sort of funny farm or something.
He's had all the charges cleared. He's been cleared of everything.
Well, I'm glad he doesn't live in my street, put it that way.
What would you do?
I'd spray him with something.
Spray him with something?
Like...
something odorous?
Yeah, like paint or something like that.
Paint?
So that the extremities...
You'd be up on charges.
The extremities of his disgusting physical presence wouldn't be that apparent to normal, decent, civilised people who live in the same street.
The prosecution has alleged that he was an exhibitionist and not a naturist, right?
Yeah.
Witness Fred Black told magistrates he was disgusted. This is
yeah,
he might as well be called Fred Parry, this guy.
Yeah.
There's kids walking up and down that street 24/7.
Yes.
People don't want to see that. It's not right.
Yeah.
If I was living in Eccles, I'd wonder why there were kids walking up and down the street 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
You're not listening, are you?
Yeah, I am listening, and I'm taking in everything you've said. And the reason I lost focus there for a second was when you described all that to me. I'm thinking, how could a court possibly let this man go and put him back into society without reprimanding or punishing him for his disgusting behaviour?
Here's what his defence lawyer said. It's not illegal per se to be naked in public. Naturism is perfectly lawful and is considered a freedom of expression. So I guess that's the answer.
Yeah, well...
and the court obviously agreed.
That doesn't make any sense to me. There is a bit of bad news about the European economy.
Is there?
EU faces new Greek debt crisis. Okay. And guess where I'm going?
You're going to Greece, aren't you? Well,
Greece,
I mean, is this the Porky Jinx working in complete and utter harmony?
Well, I only booked it last week.
That's what I'm saying. So ever since you booked it, the economy's spiralled into some kind of freefall.
I booked this great trip to Santorini last week, right? And it's a fabulous hotel, by the way, with my own jacuzzi on the balcony.
By the way, you're going to a wedding of a couple that you've known for many years,
That's right, yeah.
You're going to stay in the same hotel as them.
Yeah.
Have you taken the best room from them?
I have. Yeah, well, I didn't take it from them.
Well, hang on.
No, I didn't take it from them.
Surely they should have the best room in the hotel.
I thought they already had. So when I went on for once in my life, I managed to book it on a website. So I go on the website.
Are you sure you've done it?
Yeah, I'm certain I've done it.
Have you got the confirmation?
Yeah, I've got an email confirmation.
Did you give me your credit card details?
Yeah, all of that. I managed to do it myself. I don't know how. I was looking for some help.
Well, you better double check when you get the credit card bill, just in case you haven't bought like 50 rooms or something.
Yeah, well, maybe something like that. So I was going to ask one of my long-term friends here to help me. But I managed to somehow got through it. So, and as each stage I went through, I even managed to find a password for the credit card I was using.
Really?
Because it wasn't the regular credit card. It was just another one.
Did it come up with one of those things?
Yeah,
with
a box with what's your password and all that kind of stuff. You know, managed to get through all that. But anyway, when it showed you all the rooms available, I thought, and the most expensive one was a suite on the top floor with 2 rooms, you know, like a main bedroom.
A bedroom and a sort of living room.
And an ante-room, that's right, yeah. And in the living room, they pull, you know, one of the couches pulls out into a bed or something.
Yeah. Well, you won't need that, will you?
No, I wouldn't need that. Well, I don't know. I hope not. But
an orgy or anything.
Well, don't know. You know, you see what happens. But it's Greece after all.
Don't know.
So anyway, and it's this is the most expensive room. It's even got a jacuzzi on the balcony, you see. And I thought, that'll do.
Yeah.
So I book it.
Right.
So anyway, I then...
Did it not cross your mind to ask them whether they were in the bridal suite or whatever?
I had to assume, didn't I? I had to assume that as that's the base for the wedding, and the wedding venue is just down the road, you know, like next door or whatever.
Right. Is it in a sort of in a chapel, or is it?
No, it's like a convention centre type thing. You know, I mean, no, it's a specially designed building for weddings. Okay. Because this is like a wedding island.
Because a lot of places will do it in the hotel, won't they?
Yeah, well, it's an extension to the hotel, actually. So anyway, I'm then in a bit of correspondence with the couple concerned over the weekend about various things.
Yeah.
And they have a connection with Crystal Palace, and that didn't go did it, over the weekend?
Well, it wasn't a great weekend for Crystal Palace,
and they suddenly discovered that I had actually got what's called the honeymoon suite. So... Anyway, the outcome of it is, of course, that if I've in any way jumped the gun here, of course I will give that room back to my friends, you know, and they very happily accept that. That's not a problem at all.
Well, so you're happy that you're in the best room, and they're not?
Well, I've said I will give that room back to them if that's the case.
Well, have they asked for that?
Well, what they said is, their assumption was that they booked the room that I've booked.
Yeah.
So
you may be double booked, is what I'm saying.
No.
I wouldn't trust the system to be right, because you're talking about a Greek holiday destination.
Yeah, we are. What we're assuming here is, at this moment, until it's clarified, is that there are 2 rooms of that standard, which are the only 2 on the top floor. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
And that's
they won't want you being right next door to them anyway.
Well, you're not. There's a huge gap in the middle. You know, you can tell from the architecture of the hotel. You know what I mean? You have to go up separate staircases to get to the 2 rooms. Yeah, and that sort of stuff. You know, so it's not a problem there. But I then got on to the old flight situation, and there are literally hundreds of flights a day to Santorini from all over Europe. You know, like
it's a massive holiday destination.
Norway Air and all that.
Norwegian Air.
Norwegian Air.
Is that who you're going with?
No. Norwegian Air, Iberia, because there's no national Greek airline anymore, because I think Olympiakos went bust, didn't it?
Olympiakos is the football Olympic Airways. I don't know, actually.
I think it did.
I don't know.
You don't
I haven't seen one for a while.
No, I haven't either. And so Iberia, the Spanish carrier, go there, and then Ryanair and everything, you know. But anyway, in the end, I decided it's all too complicated, so I'm going with British Airways. And
flying the flag.
And they're the only airline that fly to Santorini with business class seats.
Yes. Well, have you got one of those sorted out?
Of course I have. I've even booked the seat.
Have you?
I've booked an aisle seat on the plane out and the plane back. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But I did that online.
Did they charge
as
you
well.
extra for that?
£16.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. I can't believe
How much are you spending on this sojourn?
Well, as much as it takes, really, because I've decided it's my friend's wedding.
It's pretty expensive. You've got a big room like that, and you go in business class, and you reserved a seat.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And you haven't even talked about getting to the airport from the hotel yet.
Oh, that'll all be sorted. And
you're going to spend about $3,000 by the time this is all done,
no. What I'm saying is, it's worth it. My friends are getting married. I've known one of them for over 20 years. And I'm very pleased for them, and I decided we're going to do it properly, you know? So that's how...
What are you getting them for a present, by the way?
Well, I haven't thought about that yet, but I mean...
Have they got a list?
Well, they have been set up in a home of their own for a number of years, and it's a very, very nice home. So it's one of those what you buy, people who've got everything type situation. So we'll have to discuss that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a very, very extravagant couple of days anyway. That's
all it is. So, you know, why not push the boat out?
Why not, indeed? Yeah. And support the Greek economy while you're at it. You might be able to single-handedly rescue it.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
It's a wonderful night, you gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, you gotta shake it from me. It's a wonderful wonderful night. Come on and break it on me. It's a wonderful night. Everybody can see. It's a wonderful night. Come on and break it on me. It's a wonderful night.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Ask Porky's coming up very shortly. Jackie, our friend in Glasgow, has sent a lovely picture of her view every morning from a villa in Santorini.
Oh yeah,
which looks rather nice, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's the old pool and a bit of a terrace.
That's beautiful. Does she live there?
No, she lives in Glasgow.
Oh, I
She's
see.
on holiday there.
Oh, on holiday, I see.
Yes.
Is it her permanent villa then?
I don't believe so, no. I think she's
Okay.
just an ordinary working woman who manages to get a holiday once in a while and rents a place,
That's
as most
very
people
good.
do.
Well done.
Craig says this: imagine the joy every day on your honeymoon seeing Porky on the next balcony.
That's right, yeah.
From Craig in Truro. And did Porky just say, says Dave, that he would have an orgy? It's Greece. And MG has the morals of an alley cat, supposedly.
Yeah, well, the Greeks invented orgies, didn't they?
I suppose the Greeks did, yeah.
They came before the Romans.
Came before the Romans.
That's right,
so
yeah.
I dare say they ran out of things to do before the Romans did.
Yeah, that's right.
Daniel says, please never send the Porkmeister to Finland. Our economy is already a basket case.
Is it really? Yeah. Well, I thought it was actually quite efficient, the Finnish economy. Finland did awfully well, the start of the Second World War, and they fought the Russians, nearly beat them.
Yeah.
Only a tiny country. Yeah.
How about this, which has come in, I think, from Steve, who says he feels a book coming on, Beckham Nights by Porky Parry.
Beckham Nights, yeah, that's very good indeed. Well done.
Yes.
Nights,
now,
as in
I've had
KM.
some interesting reports that have come in over the course of the last couple of days about Porky spotting that's been going on. Now, you were apparently spotted in a pub, and I can't reveal exactly which pub it was because that would give away who it was that might have seen you.
Yeah.
And it was basically an incident in which it would appear that you had thought that you'd lost your phone.
Really?
People were concerned about you because they said it seemed as though he was slightly, Porky was slightly sort of distracted. They described you as being unable to concentrate or focus.
I know what you're talking about.
They were concerned
That's a rubbish.
that as a result of what they saw and what they witnessed, that you might be suffering from some early form of dementia.
What?
That's what I was told.
You mad?
That's what I was told. I've had this on very good authority. You know that people like to report when they see you.
Yeah.
And this is meant to have happened at some point. I can't tell you exactly when.
Well,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that.
I'm not sure what you're going on about here.
Well,
I mean, there was a minor happening.
A happening?
Minor happening.
Well, could you want to describe the happening?
Well, I happened to be at lunch in a Surrey hostelry. Okay.
Yes.
That's all I can say. It was quite late afternoon.
Late lunch?
Well, lunch had been taken. It was late afternoon, and there was some sport on the television that I was watching in the said hostelry.
Right.
And actually, it was quite strange because I very rarely allow my phone to run down because I've got, I'm sure millions of other people have got it, but I've got a speed charger at home which literally charges it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic. Goes from like...
As it gets older, though, the charge runs down quicker.
Well, this never has done. The phone's now about 6 months old, and it goes from about 12% to 99% in about 10 minutes, literally. It's great. So I'm very early. But what happened was, on this particular day, I must have been very busy or something in the morning.
Yes.
Phone started running down. Now, I was using the phone...
So you may have been out for a while, then?
Oh, I had been out for about 6 hours, because I'd been working with you, actually, earlier in the day on the Saturday warm-up show. And... in fact, I had, obviously, and we used the phones a lot during that and all that kind of stuff. But then I was in constant touch during this game I was watching, and then I did have a sort of what I would call a blind memory moment.
Really?
Yeah.
What, you mean when you couldn't remember what was going on?
No, I'd been using my phone, and then, I'd been eating a bit of the meal I was eating, and I'd been looking at a paper, and I was looking at the television, I'd put the phone down, I'd pick it up again, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly went to pick it up, and it wasn't there.
Right.
You know, the immediate shock of, I must have put it back in my pocket. It wasn't there.
Right.
Oh, it must have fallen off the table. It wasn't there.
Right.
And then it was sort of...
Then you start thinking, did I leave it at the bar?
Even I thought, hang on, because I'd been up to the bathroom about 2 minutes earlier to wash my hands.
Did they have soap?
They did have soap, yeah, no problem.
Thank God for that.
And I saw it, and then I thought, hang on. As I went back to my table, and I said that there were a group of guys, actually, in front of me. Very nice chaps. There's about 6 of them sitting around the table.
They recognise you?
Watching the football. Yes, we'd already had that conversation.
Right.
And I just said, look, fellas, I'm really sorry to bother you. I said, but my phone has disappeared. And they said, really? Can we help? I said, well, look, I'm not being funny here, but I said, you didn't take it as a joke or anything, did you?
Right.
Oh, no. We'll ring it for you. So the two of them rang it.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. So then there was another table on the right.
Presumably you had to give them your number then.
Yeah, I had to give him a number, yeah. So a table on my right, and I said, look, I'm awfully sorry. I said, but I haven't possibly passed you and put my phone on your table or anything like that, because I'd been talking to them. And they said, no. And I said, right. So then my next thought was, I've got to go to the door of this hostelry,
right,
and I've got to stand in front of it and throw my arms up and lock and bar it, basically. Say, nobody's leaving.
Yeah.
My phone's gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Like sort of Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah. Your worst nightmare and all that. That's right. Yeah, and all that. And I thought that's the only way I can do it. I thought you've got to be firm and positive here.
Yes.
Because your phone must still be in this pub. Unless...
And for you and I now, the phone is a lifeline.
Exactly.
You couldn't go home without it.
No. Unless somebody had picked it up and suddenly done a runner. But, there'd been no sign of that at all.
Right.
So that was my next thought. I must get up and bar the door, don't let anybody out.
Yes.
And then call the police.
Well, this is when people started to wonder if things were going a bit all right for you.
Well, you start to panic. Where's your phone and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, then a very helpful barmaid and barman, as I was standing by the door, came and said, what's the problem? And I explained. I said, look, my phone's gone.
Yeah.
I said, and they did both say, look, this is not that sort of pub where people lift phones off tables.
Well, but any sort of pub is really, to be fair.
And I said, no, I know. I said, but look, what could have happened to it? And so the barmaid lady, who was awfully kind, she said, I tell you what, I'll go upstairs to the office and run through the CCTV to see if it's been lifted off your table.
Yeah. Because it must have been quite a busy pub at this time.
Oh, it was very busy, yeah, by mistake or accident or something like that. I said, that'd be good, thanks very much indeed. So anyway, she then came back down and said, look, there's absolutely no movement of it at all. I said, did you see the phone 1 minute, not the next?
Yeah.
She said, yes. She said, but, we just can't explain.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I went back to my table, and then... So this is about 20 minutes now, right?
Right.
So I sat down...
Quite worrying,
because I thought, I don't know where to get all the numbers.
And you had no recollection of doing anything with it?
Nothing at all. And of course, I didn't even have your number, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What am I going to do, you know? I suppose in my head I thought I can ring TalkSport, get a few numbers. But
you couldn't ring anyone without a phone.
No, but from a landline or something.
I see.
It's going to be a nightmare. Anyway, I then look up, and amazingly, about 6 or 8 feet away, I notice a wire sticking out of a cupboard.
This is from your table?
From my table,
yeah.
And I thought, that's funny, what's that wire?
Yeah.
So I went over and I opened the cupboard, and my phone was in the cupboard.
Right.
And the wire led out the cupboard, round the back, to a plug.
So you must have put it in there.
Well, I'm not sure whether somebody else...
Well, why would somebody else decide to charge your phone for you?
I don't know. This is the mystery. But I have no recollection of this cupboard.
Yeah.
I have no recollection of getting the charger out of my bag or anything like that.
And these guys didn't see you doing it?
No, definitely not. Or else
Do you think it might have been one of your guardian angels?
I've no idea. But
That's very odd, that.
But if any of those guys had seen me doing it, right, they'd have said... Oh, no, we saw you charge it.
Yeah.
Something like that. Nobody said that. So you'd have thought that somebody would have said,
Could they see where this sort of arrangement of the cupboard and the
charging point it was kind of to their left in an alcove, so not really, you know what I mean? But anyway,
It's a very strange story, this.
So, sorry?
It's a very strange story, this.
Well, I immediately felt a bit of an idiot.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not surprised. I think that's why a couple of people got in touch with me.
So it's fully charged, so I took it back, and then I thought, what an idiot. So first thing I did was I said to these guys, I said, look, guys, thank you very much for getting so concerned. I've actually found my phone. That's where was it? I said, oh, well, you won't believe it, but, I thought I'd recovered it from I didn't even know what it was doing in a cupboard. But, so I went and bought them 6 bottles of beer, because there were 6 of them.
Right.
And they had, particular...
Well, even though they hadn't actually found your phone for you.
Well, it didn't matter. I felt like a fool, so I thought I'd better make it up. So I bring the beer over, but then, unfortunately, I got, paralysis in my fingers and dropped all the beer on the table.
What, spilled it?
Yeah, they didn't. None of the bottles smashed, but they all fell over. So the beer was running all over these chaps' trousers.
No wonder people have been in touch with me about this.
And all that kind of stuff. But then I went to see the barmaid and the barman, thanked them effusively for taking so much time and care to look through the CCTV, and then gave them a monetary reward.
So, such as?
Well, I don't want to go into that, but I said, look, this is for when you close tonight. Go somewhere else and get yourselves a drink, please. Yeah. Because I feel like
I feel like I should now leave because I've wreaked enough havoc for one day.
I did then leave. Yeah.
Quite right.
But
That's very worrying.
It was a blind memory moment and you know, a real mystery.
Yeah.
A real mystery.
I'm not sure it's that much of a mystery, to be honest.
No, I think it is a mystery.
But, I mean, I'm sure people can work out what the problem was. This is Talk Sport. Ask Porky next.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving...
On each of the questions that are going to come up. We've got loads of them on Facebook and we've got a whole host of them as well on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
And so we're, of course, at the Two Mics and the Facebook page is Twitter. Let's start with a very simple one.
Okay.
And it's from Don, who says, why is sea air good for you?
Sea air is good for you because it doesn't have the impurities of air over the land. Now, let me tell you that I've been reading some stuff today saying that there are minute particles in most of the air in most cities in this country, which you can't see, which can't even be recorded, actually, by the most sophisticated machinery because they are so thin. The only way we know about them is that dead bodies, which have been examined afterwards, lungs and that kind of stuff, do have a collection of these particles. That doesn't happen at sea. The wind at sea comes over the sea. It doesn't carry industrial waste or belching...
Unless you're on a cruise ship, of course.
Belching chimney smoke or anything like that. And that's why you get a completely different sensation breathing air from the sea on the coast than you do from the city. And I know that for a fact because I live in both places.
Sean in Wallasey says this on Facebook. Is Trainspotting 2 worth watching, Porky? I've seen the first one, but thought I should ask the best reviewer after listening to Porky Vision.
I didn't see Trainspotting the first time. I'm sorry. I don't really know what it's about. I think it was about some sort of drug scene and all that kind of stuff, young people in Edinburgh, but it put me off when I saw a trailer in which some bloke disappeared down a loo or his head shot out of a loo or something like that, and I don't like lavatorial stuff, so I never watched it, and I won't be watching the second, and I didn't think that Ewan McGregor guy who's in it was very impressive on the Piers Morgan show.
OK, here's one from Josh. He says, me and my missus are going on an all-inclusive holiday in May, and we're taking our daughter, who will be 10 months old. How do we work out the bladderation order so that there's always one of us sober to look after our daughter?
Well, I think if you take your 10-year-old daughter on holiday with you, you should put all thoughts of bladderation behind you. In my view, your main priority there is going to be the safety and the security of your family, and that obviously includes your 10-month-old daughter. However, if you have decided that you want to mix a bit of family life with a bit of bladderation, which does not make you a bad person, then you should have planned your holiday to go to somewhere where there are first-class babysitting facilities. No good going on the bladderation trail with a bunch of other blokes around on holiday. You want to do it with your wife, so you have to make sure, very, very sure, safe and secure provisions for your daughter.
Matty says this. How's the iron ore situation going, Porky?
Well, the iron ore situation changes on a daily basis. For instance, another resource in the world, oil, although the price of petrol is going up at the moment per litre, it will be going down again this time next year because there are surplus amounts of oil. It's the same with iron ore. If China starts building, iron ore price goes up because it becomes in demand, and if China stops building, it goes down. At the moment, it's between the two.
It's one from Natasha. She says, what can I do about my ex-boyfriend? He's always trying to rekindle our relationship because he wants something, and he's usually just trying to either get a reaction from me or some kind of horizontal refreshment.
What you do in a situation like that is totally ignore. You have to totally ignore. I know that... immature people do provocative things to try and get a reaction. And when matters of the heart are involved, people do lose a lot of ration sense and resort to that sort of thing. He just wants you to make sure that you're still noticing him, that you're still aware of him, that there may be a possibility of some revival of the relationship later. The only way to snuff it out, like putting your hand over a candle when you've licked your finger and your thumb on your tongue to extinguish that flame, is to do just that. Ignore everything.
Pierre says this. My wife is cross as I often ask you for advice instead of her. Can you give me some advice about this?
Yes, what I would say is that you have to explain to your wife that I have had a long, eventful life in which I've come across many situations. I'm therefore in a position to help. Your wife is no doubt a lovely woman and a very good lady, but can't possibly have the sort of life experience of the Porkmeister. That's all you need to say.
Now, this is an interesting one. Steve says, could you ask Porky, when are his pork scratchings coming out, or are these his? And he's shown me a picture of some called the Porky Crunch, which I don't believe are yours.
Yes.
I don't think they are yours, he says, as they're only 20 pence a bag.
OK. The Porky Scratchings, I can tell you, launch on March the... let me get this right, 10th. March the 10th in Wigan. Let me get that right, because Everton play on the 5th. It's the 12th of next Sunday. Yes, it is. It is definitely the 10th. Friday, March the 10th in Wigan at Harry's Bar, which is the centre of the World Pie Eating Championships on an annual basis. Yes, it's true. Right. It's a wonderful place.
Okay.
Will be the location for the launch of Porky Scratchings at 5:30 on that day. There are big events coming up with the two mics. That's the Porky Scratchings. As I've already explained, our week on Saturday, February the 18th, we launched the new two mics website.
Now, this one is obviously referring to this week's news from Kelly. Should former England and Manchester United captain Brian Robson receive a knighthood?
No, I don't think so, necessarily. I think Brian Robson already has an award, either an OB or an MB or something like that, and I think that's sufficient. He was a great player, had a great career, and a great leader of men, according to any professionals that you speak to. But at the end of the day, he didn't win the World Cup, and I think it was only towards the end of his career he won his first title with Manchester United, I think, in his last season. A great career, but not a knighthood career.
OK. Here's one from Brett. It says, why is there a TV watershed but not a radio equivalent? He says, I would love to hear you two effing and jeffing at each other.
Well, to be honest, I think that the way we conduct our shows when we're doing these sort of hours is a lot looser than shows we do during the day. And that is for a reason. And one of the reasons is that an awful lot of people download this podcast on the basis that it is a bit raunchier than a daytime show, and that's the licence we have on a 24-hour schedule.
Although we do, of course, have a lot of children who listen to us as well.
We do, and we respect that. We respect that.
Mark says this, what's the best can opener on the market?
I wouldn't know, because what I do is, most of the cans that I buy these days, for some unknown reason, have a ring pull in it.
Oh, yes.
So you don't need to worry. But if I need to open a can, the one I prefer is what I call the horizontal can opener, which...
Horizontal?
Yes, the horizontal, which takes the lid off the can.
Yes.
It doesn't cut down into it, if you see what I mean.
OK.
Yeah.
Paul says this, Porky, I really fancy a woman at work, but I'm struggling to find a way in. Should I A, stalk her, B, hack her emails and Facebook, or C, choose a married woman as they're more desperate and grateful? That's a dreadful question.
Yeah, dreadful question. The first two don't do because they're antisocial and possibly criminal. The third one
possibly criminal.
Yeah, well, they are, aren't they? You know, around hacking people's phones and all that kind of stuff. The third one, all I can say is, don't get into any desperation stakes. Don't think, oh, that woman's married, therefore she's probably got a boring life at home with a boring husband. That's completely untrue. A lot of marriages are very happy, some aren't. But the only way you find out about that is to just, merge into social situations at work, like a leaving do, or like a Christmas party, or like somebody's birthday celebration in a pub after work, and then the situations regarding your work colleagues will emerge.
Pete says this, if you could have one thing back, choose one from these four: the Lost Everton programmes, the Lost 12,000 quid, the Vauxhall Viva, or Costello's.
Well, Lost Everton programmes very dear to me, and every day I sort of reflect on the fact I'll never get those back. I wouldn't yearn back for Costello's. That was a period of my life with my colleague here, MG, which was brilliant and fantastic, but it's not of the time anymore. It was of the time then. It was a bit of a grubby old bar, really, when you think about it.
But very historic.
Very historic indeed. And
James Thurber on the wall.
James Thurber on the walls and all that kind of stuff. So it'd have to be the Everton programmes.
Sean says this, Porky, what's the earliest time being socially acceptable to begin bladderation, in moderation, of course, if it's at the airport? Surely no morals apply. 9 a.m, for example, is OK, isn't it?
9 a.m.'s late. I was going off somewhere once from London City, and I can't remember who it was. My flight was 7:30.
Was it Mallorca, maybe?
It might have been, yeah. And I got there at 4:30, and everybody was drinking pints of lager. And the bars just never close. Just never close. So no time's too early, providing you haven't got responsibilities later in the day which would make you inefficient through bladderation. But if you're flying off on holiday, I think that's quite acceptable.
Obviously not if you're driving as well.
No, of course not.
Mange says this, if you were an alcoholic beverage, which one would it be and why?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'd probably be a Southern Comfort.
Would you?
Rich, smooth, not too bitter. Looks good when poured over ice, i.e. for that icy interior. Yeah, I'd say a Southern Comfort.
OK. From Steptoe, what's more important, good looks or money?
Money, because I think money's the most important thing in life. If you are ugly and have money, you'll have a better life than being good-looking and poor. It's as simple as that.
OK. Zach says this, I've almost finished my law degree at the University of the Trent. I need to apply for jobs, but I don't want to do law. And he says, help.
Well, look, you've got to sort that out for yourself. I don't know why you bother doing law if you don't want to do law. Law's a specialist subject. I mean, some people go to university and do things like history, and they do things like English. They don't necessarily want to be an English teacher or an historian. But when you do law, that's a very, very specific discipline. So I'm amazed that you don't want to do law. And to be honest, when you've got a law degree, there's very few other things you're qualified to do.
Mr. A. Evans, and this comes actually with a graphic, which I'm not going to show you, but it basically shows that the record currently of Jurgen Klopp is exactly identical to the record of Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool. Yeah. And he says, what would Brendan make of this particular set of statistics? Yeah. Does it show he was unfairly treated? Could you please enlighten us, wise one?
Well, I don't think Jurgen Klopp's been a great international manager, a great manager internationally in terms of different leagues that he's worked in and working for the US national team. So it doesn't surprise me at all. Brendan Rodgers was the luckiest or the unluckiest manager in the history of the Premier League because he inherited a team that very, very nearly won the Premier League, particularly because of Luis Suarez having a gem of a player, probably the world's best forward at that time. And to not have won it is actually it's the lost break of his life because he's never going to win it again with anybody else. And so he was either unluckiest or luckiest. Make your mind up.
Refined says this, and this is the final one. If there was to be a rebooted version of either Rising Damp, Alan Partridge or On the Buses, which would Porky prefer to be in?
On the buses,
really,
because I think historically it was such good, clean fun, and didn't harm anybody, and starred the brilliant Reg Varney.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was Ask Porky. Tremendous questions. We got loads more that we never got to, so apologies if we didn't actually get to one of yours. But keep sending them in for the same time next week, of course, and we will address more of your problems, more of your dilemmas and all of that. Coming up tomorrow, of course, it's Porky Vision.
Yes.
And a lot of people were making a recommendation of a show that was on last night.
Yes.
Which currently is escaping me.
Yeah.
But it was something that was on last night that they want you to have a look at.
About,
I don't know. I'll have to have a think about it and tell you when we come back.
Okay, because there's one on... Oh, yes, I know which one it is.
Yeah.
It's about Shannon Matthews, the mother who kidnapped her own child.
That's the one. I don't know.
And
What's the name of that?
I've seen that.
Have you?
It's called some Millfield or something.
Something
like that.
Name
of the Midfield, the name of the estate they lived on.
Oh, okay. All right. This is Talk Sport.
The two mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Today you and I are not the same.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course, I've got a couple of things just to tidy up here. Alex has sent me this email. It's a tweet, rather.
Yeah.
He said, "Hi guys, if possible, a 30-second birthday shout out to my mate and huge two mics fan, Joe the Turk.
Yes,
Porky is his idol, apparently.
Okay,
and he says, God help him.
Right, Joe the Turk.
Yeah,
and his birthday.
Yeah, it's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Joe. Hope it goes well, mate. Another year gone by. Make it a good one."
Yes. Here's one from JHA who says, "You stupid plank, you've mixed up Klinsmann and Klopp. How have you managed to do that? We were talking about Klopp and Rodgers, weren't we?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you managed to mix up Klinsmann and Klopp?
You said Klinsmann.
I didn't say Klinsmann.
You did, honestly.
Did I?
Yeah, honest God. Because I had in my head the blonde, America and all that. And
I'm sure I said Klopp and Rodgers, no? Jurgen Klopp. I said Jurgen Klopp.
No.
It's Jurgen Klinsmann.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have said Jurgen Klinsmann.
No, I heard Jurgen Klinsmann come out your mouth, honestly.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I would like to check with somebody on that.
We'll
Did
check
I say Jurgen Klinsmann or Jurgen Klopp?
Well,
they're not paying any attention.
Perhaps we can listen back
I'm sure I said Jurgen Klopp.
Okay. What I heard come out your mouth was Jurgen Klinsmann. That's why I responded as I did.
Matt says, classic self-description by Porky, rich, smooth and not too bitter.
Yes.
How humble from the man of the people.
Well, you've got to be... I mean, remember, I don't have much time to answer these questions in Ask Porky. In fact, many people have asked for an extended Ask Porky, but whether or not, we feel that
I think there's quite enough of it, to be honest.
I think there's enough of it as well.
Here's one from Akira, who said, "Do I need to seek medical advice if I sometimes agree with Porky?" Which is not actually an Ask Porky question.
Well, it depends on which issue you're agreeing with.
Depends
on which issue.
Yeah.
Now, I hope we've got some response to my blind memory moment.
Well, a lot of people are saying that they don't believe it. Zoggy Laguna says, "Blind memory moment, my backside," for want of a better word, which I can't read out.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Well, I don't think he believes you.
What do you mean he doesn't believe me?
Well,
it
I
happened.
don't think he thinks it was a blind memory moment. I think he just means you were blind drunk. Here's one from Davies.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Early onset dementia.
Yes. No. There's no.
Scott says this is the best one. He says, "Where are you drinking next Saturday, Porky? It sounds like cheap entertainment."
Well, yeah, it would be if I lost my phone again. That's right.
Ian says, "Yep, it's official. Porky has lost the plot."
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so. This is a good one. So Porky first of all accuses the 6 guys of stealing his phone, and then when he finds out they haven't, he threw beer all over them. They've got your number now as well.
And Steve says, "I don't know, charging around the pub. You need that holiday, Porky. Recharge your batteries."
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And Craig in Truro says, "Porky, the mystery solved. Bladderation not in moderation."
Yes, well, it could be a bit of that. One here from Jackie. "Oh, I do wish I lived in Santorini. No, I was very lucky. I was taken there on honeymoon a few years ago." Well, that's the sort of place it seems to be.
Yes, it does seem to be the sort of place. Well, maybe you'll find, quite often when you go to weddings, you end up sort of getting hooked up with somebody, don't you?
Maybe.
I mean, in your case, probably the bride. But I mean, what I'm saying
is, don't be ridiculous.
I don't mean this in this case, but I mean, with your predilection for married women, what I'm saying is that people get very romantic around about weddings.
Yes, they do.
People really do. Bob in Cambridge says this: "Porky's brilliant paint naked pests idea has my full support."
Good.
In fact, I'd like him to use a flamethrower and get his mate Hockney to paint the scene.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad one at all. Now, there's quite a saucy one here from Emma. She says, "Fabuloso show, as it's you guys, kisses and all that kind of stuff. Be fab, enjoy all and indulge." And then there's... she's got a sort of like a talking sort of picture type thing.
That's called a GIF.
A GIF, is it? Oh, yeah.
It's basically it's a little snapshot of a piece of video,
right?
Which continually sort of just fires itself off.
But I mean, is there any words coming out of her mouth? Or
usually speaking, they're silent. Sometimes they have words coming out of their mouth, but it depends if you've got the volume up.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But you wouldn't want to do that generally.
No.
I mean, a lot of them are clips from movies. A lot of them are sort of pieces of film of people like Barack Obama. They're good. You should have them on your phone.
Yeah, good. Now, Julia, who's a regular correspondent, says she'll give up, you might have read this one out, she'll give up garlic if I give up mash and...
I read that one out to you ages ago.
Fish fingers, yeah, but...
that's Julia from Coventry.
Yes, I know that, but there's a follow-up to it somewhere here, which is saying... Porky wouldn't do that for you or something. Hard bargain there, Julia. He loves his fish fingers. Put it that way.
Very true.
Yep.
Here's one from Look at the Light. "Money is the most important thing in life," says the man with only 1/3 of his heart working.
Yes.
Red Bull is a very powerful drug.
Yeah, well, it's not that, but I mean, only 1/3 of my heart works, but life would be more difficult if I couldn't afford the occasional taxi or limo and all that kind of stuff to compensate for my knackered heart. You understand what I mean?
Rich says this: "When are you two legends bringing the two mic shows to the USA?" Well, you never know. We're hoping to bring it to New York at some point, aren't we?
Working on that one.
And Madge says, "Can we get an update from last week's Ask Porky when he advised the guy to shove his girlfriend's hand in a pineapple sponge?"
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
To see whether we
to
could
get
figure
the
out
size for the ring.
size.
Yes, I remember that. Of course I do, yeah. And I still recommend it.
Yes. Now,
and I'd like to know back in case they've done it, yeah.
This is a bit unkind from World Traveller. Nothing strange about old Slosh getting so wasted he forgets everything. Was he still wearing trousers? Barred from the pub.
No, wasn't barred from the pub at all. They were very nice about it all, actually, and very good people.
Have you been back there since, by the way?
I haven't, actually, no, because I haven't had need to be. I've been just too busy, put it that way,
Yeah, always tricky.
Got to keep busy, got to keep busy.
What do you mean you've got to keep busy?
Well, you've got to keep busy.
There's no point keeping busy for being busy's sake.
Well, no, but there are things that we have to be busy about at the moment, aren't there? You know what I mean?
Well, there's always things that we have to be busy about.
Yeah.
But, that's why you have to sort of manage your time in a good enough way.
Yeah.
We should have some more news on various things in the next few weeks, really, shouldn't we?
Well, I think we've actually announced most of the news of the stuff coming up. The Porky scratchings will be marketable very soon. The Two Mikes website, which of course will have a page about the scratchings on it, will also be marketable very soon. And we're also in negotiations with the publisher for the first Two Mikes annual, aren't we?
That's true, yeah.
Yes. So
you keep saying annual, but people should know that's also a book, right? Rather
it's
than
a book.
annual
It's
necessarily.
A book. Yeah,
now, we should also mention, just because I promised Becky that I would continue to mention it, 4-year-old Leo, who needs his £150,000.
Yes, indeed.
We were able to say last night, happily, that his treatment has now begun because we've managed to raise, with the help of everybody out there, Two Mikes fans, and a lot of other people as well, we've managed to raise upwards of about 90,000.
It's very pleasing.
They can begin his treatment, and then he can go over to the United States of America in the coming weeks.
Well,
so
the sooner that happens,
I'll continue to retweet the various sort of connections where you can pick up Facebook pages, and you can donate on the GoFundMe page as well. But everybody's done terribly well on that. So that's been very, very gratifying. Now, how about this from Scott? who says this is what it's going to look like when Porky gets to his hotel room in Santorini.
Yeah, that's a lot. Oh, my God.
It's a jacuzzi full of people.
A jacuzzi full of people, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good pickup line, isn't it? You know, I'd like to come back and sample my jacuzzi.
Are you sure? I don't think it is.
Well, why?
I don't think it is.
Why?
I think it might sound a bit creepy, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd have to be the right time and moment, won't it? You know
My advice to you would be not to mention the jacuzzi, right? And don't say there's a jacuzzi because it sounds as like you're being a bit big-headed.
No.
Right?
No.
And instead of which, you just invite, if you have a woman you want to invite to your room, you invite her to your room and say, you know, I've got a very nice suite and I've got a drinks cabinet and you can come and have whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then when she gets there, then you say, oh, look out there, I've got a jacuzzi.
Yeah, well,
do it that way.
Yeah, but she won't have brought a bikini with her then, will she?
So what do you want her in a bikini for?
Well, how else do you get into a jacuzzi?
She goes in naked.
Oh, no, come on, I'm into that sort of smutty
You're not into
stuff,
that sort of smutty stuff.
You know, for
so when you
goodness
say
sake.
to a woman, you know, why don't you come up and try my jacuzzi out?
Yes.
But you can only come if you've got a swimming costume.
No, I don't think
so.
so.
What are you bringing her up there for?
Well, look, I'm not getting into this. This is a family show. The point is, there's little point in having a jacuzzi unless you tell people you've got one. That's the way I see it. You know?
But you see, so for you, you've booked the jacuzzi, but you'll probably never get in it.
Well, maybe I won't.
Because it means more to you to tell people you've got one.
Well,
than it does to actually get in it.
I do find jacuzzis a bit of a nuisance, I have to say.
Have you ever been in one of those communal ones in a hotel?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Have you?
In fact, funnily enough, that was part of life on Necker.
Were you in one with Valerie Singleton?
Yes, I was.
Were you?
Yeah, next to the infinity pool.
Is lovely woman, Valerie Singleton.
Yes,
I was on a golfing freebie with her once.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a huge jacuzzi into which you submerge yourself.
Right. And so you were all sitting in there, were you? Drinking?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, drinking lots of champagne and everything else. I was still drinking champagne in those days.
So you're not going to get a bit wrinkled, though, if you're staying too long?
Well,
I'm not a massive fan of jacuzzis.
Because you get unwrinkled eventually, don't you? So it doesn't really bother me.
Well, not necessarily.
You know?
Not necessarily. Here's one from Paul. He says, no chance of Porky getting hooked up as he is in a long-term relationship with himself. I think that's great.
That's rather a weird and unnecessary comment, I have to say.
Marge says, I must have missed Jurgen Klopp's stint as manager of the US national team.
No, I'm sure you said Klinsmann, honestly. I'm pretty sure.
But the whole point of the comparison was to compare two managers of Liverpool who have got exactly the same record.
Yeah, I wondered why somebody had asked me to compare Brendan Rodgers to Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen Klopp
to Jurgen Klinsmann.
You sure you didn't just hear Jurgen and then assume it was Klinsmann?
Well, for some unknown reason, Klinsmann was the word that shot into my brain.
Well, that doesn't mean that's what I said, though.
Well, we're going to listen to it later and find out, aren't we? Yes.
Steve says, what if you invite a lady for some horizontal refreshment but you've forgotten your room number? And only 1/3 of your heart works?
Well, because I've got such a superior room, even if I forget the room number, I'll know exactly where it is. Don't worry.
Well, you don't want to stumble into the bridal suite, do you?
Well, of course not. No, obviously.
That could be a bit embarrassing.
It could be, indeed, yes. That won't happen. Don't worry.
OK. Excellent.
Worry not.
All right. Well, we're pretty much nearly out of time here.
Yeah, okay.
We have, of course, Porky Vision tomorrow.
Yes.
I wasn't able to find the name of that programme.
Well, it is called like Midfield or something like that. In fact, I can find it in an instant because I'm smarter than the average bear.
Oh, okay.
What you'll find is that episode 1 was last night, and episode 2 will be tonight. Okay. And therefore, if I look at my TV schedules, I'll tell you that it is in fact called... hang on, I've got it here. It's called...
Something Hill, is it?
Is it called Midford Hill?
I think it's Midford, no.
Hang on, what day is this? This is... let me think.
We haven't got much time left.
OK, well, it's... hang on. What time is it on?
I don't know.
What time's it on?
You're the reviewer. I've no idea.
Here we go. It's not Midsummer Murders, is it?
No, it's not that. No, never mind. We'll come back to it tomorrow.
Yeah, OK.
When Porky Vision is on.
OK,
This
good
is
idea.
Talk Sport.
Yeah.
The swimmer, to be fair, didn't get very far.
Idiotic swimmer will swim the Atlantic. Oh, really? How far did he get? 16 miles or something?
No, he was a bit further than that. But
I don't think it was.
Maybe he shouldn't have been practising in the Cheltenham police swimming pool.
No, exactly.
You know, he should have probably been practising in something a bit more like the Atlantic.
That's right. Somebody should have warned him to put a bit of the old anti-jelly sting spray on.
He got stung, didn't he?
Yeah, almost paralysed him, the amount of stings he got and all that kind of stuff. Completely idiotic individual.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
The Moorside, by the way, is the name of that show.
The Moorside, that's it. Yeah, that was the name of the estate they lived on.
Yes,
yeah.
Which apparently